once again, let the intro music simmer for a bit. It's nice intro music for what we've been doing, and it feels very nice and calm, given the state of today's games. Welcome to the Valentine's Day stream of Roottrees. The Roottrees are dead. Coming off of what we just did earlier today, I think this is a good break from all the weird things that we played today. We had a lot of ups and downs, right? I would want to say like the beginning was good, the middle part of today, it wasn't as exciting as I hoped it would be. It's hard to keep the excitement going with certain types of romance games, because romance tends to be very boring and slow burning. But you know what's fun? You know what isn't boring and slow burning? A family torn apart by fake family members, all popping out of the woodworks to try and make some money from the impending Roottreemania. So again, if you don't know, last time we played this game, we finished the main portion of the game, and we're on to the second portion of the game, where a bunch of fake family members are coming out of the woodworks to try to convince people that they are a part of the Roottrees family, and thus take a piece of the slice of the pie, cut of the candy. What's like the same thing? What's a saying for that fits the candy feeling, right? And they're trying to be, you know, they're trying to have some of what they want, if that makes sense. Hopefully the save is correct. Hopefully it still works. And hopefully my save was saved, and hopefully I don't need to back it up manually. Because cloud save should work, but I have a manual backup of my save just in case. It should be correct if I'm looking at it. Yep, very correct. So again, last time we ended off, Lucy Lang is a accent collector, which was hilarious to me. I really enjoyed learning about Lucy Lang and the way that she would hit it. So one of her hobbies since coming to the United States has been collecting accents. That's the thing that made me stop playing this, because I was like, I don't know if we should talk about this. But I've been waiting to play this for a while, and actually they've been having updates for this game pretty consistently. They've actually been taking into account the feedback that people have. You can actually cancel the camera transitions now, so you no longer need to wait. Alt Q no longer quits the game. For some reason that was like a quick quit button, I'm not really sure. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Kind of. But for candy. It's like similar concept, but for candy. Like it's like you like somebody wants a slice of the pie, but how do you say it for candy specifically? Or, and this may be controversial, is pie candy? Right? Like maybe it's a classification thing. Do we consider pie to be candy? What other major update? Oh yeah, also, there's an option that you can do to search all periodicals at once. It's more of a cheat option. But the key thing that we can do now, and watch this. You know how before there was 12 pages? No. Chat, there's now a max of 20 pages. We can have pages for every single thing now. And you can even reorder the pages. And look, this is not from an update, but a chat member, a YouTuber, not a YouTuber, sorry. A YouTube commenter told me this. You can reorder the notes. Look at this. This is actually mind-blowing to me, because look at that. So there's no need to delete something and bring it back. We can just move things around, which means I can actually use this the way that it was intended to be used now, instead of doing this weird thing where I write everything down into one system. The problem still is that I don't really know how to reorganize my notes, but I know that I can drag them into different pages now, so it means we can actually start to at least move away from Mi Familia and I can actually deal with the real organization of my notes. So we don't need Obsidian, we can just do with this. Candy is a social construct. You know, you're not necessarily wrong, right? Because it's gonna sound stupid, but I'm gonna say this, okay? Why drink Coca-Cola when you can just eat a spoonful of sugar? I know this sounds stupid, but think about this, okay? Sure, there's a different flavor, but you save yourself the time and the gassiness by just taking like a whole soup spoon's worth of sugar into your mouth. And you just do the same, it's the same amount of grams, same flavor, basically, okay? Like, it's so sweet, so saturating that eventually everything's like tastes the same, like because your tongue gets like flavor tired, right? So why not just do that? I'm not wrong here. I feel like society is wrong for trying to convince us that we need Coca-Cola in our lives. Like you do know it leads to, you know, like health issues and how it's like Coca-Cola can melt rust off of and like paint off of like cars, right? Why do that? Just eat sugar, man. I say as I eat my sweet raisins and my chocolate bar. Now again, last time we left off, we were learning about the Lang family. So we going down the Lang family sort of trail. We also learned from the Guy Hudson trail that he might be the 5 coituses, right? He might be Guy Hudson, the pussy slayer, because we don't really know about this. Well, no one really knows about this for sure, but he ran parties where him and his wife, who were married for the image of being married, they ran these parties to find sex partners. So presuming that this is him, okay? And that we know that he slept with his various business partners, like in that one interview that we saw inside the magazine from that one person. So there's a very good chance that the Lang family is one of those people, because one of the sisters got artificially inseminated. I think the one that lives in the US. So not the parent of Lucy Lang, because Lucy Lang's parent is the one that's still in China, who's running the original Roottrees China factory, but the sister who now lives within the estates, right? So presumably the artificial insemination, quote unquote, is not actually artificial insemination, it's just sex. However, there's a wrinkle to this theory that I was thinking about that I'm going to tell you now, okay? I don't know if it's true that it's the sister in the States, because the sister in the States has a husband. So presumably he inseminated her manually, right? Like imagine manually inseminating someone. It's like, what? We live in a technological world, and you want to stick your penis inside of a hole and like manually gyrate? Like, no, dude, come on. You can have a robot finish you in 5 seconds and artificially inseminate someone. Hell, one load could cover hundreds of pussies. One single load, because you excrete thousands of sperm per load. And you're telling me you want to manually gyrate your hips like a Neanderthal, like a caveman, to then spurt out like a little cum drop into somebody's like, pussy hole? Like, it doesn't make any sense, right? But maybe he does. Maybe he believes in the traditional way of doing things. And maybe, just maybe, the reason why the older sister in Roottrees China was an early adopter or like early believer in artificial insemination is because she was never artificially inseminated. So we know that she probably doesn't have a partner, but she has a son. Okay? I think we know for sure that there's only 2 sisters. Though the wording of the word sister and sisters implies that there's at least 2, that there's at least 3 sisters, right? But presumably, the son that came to the United States to work Lucy Lang is probably the daughter of Guy Hudson because of his artificial insemination into her pussy. So we're gonna see how this goes, but I need to finish reading this article where she's racist. So again, Lucy Lang, the daughter, I forget the names. What are the names? Is it Min Lang? No, Min Lang is the real name of Lucy Lang. Team Talon Claw. Here we go. Jerry, Linda, and Mark. No. Where's your sister? Lang Xinyu. Here we go. Lang Xinyu is the name of the person who's... Yeah, and then I wrote down that implies that the IVF thing is faked or something. Presumably Lang Xinyu is the one who had sex with Guy Hudson. But let's see how it goes, okay? Let's learn more about Lang. About Min. In addition to robotics, so last summer I read this stuff upstairs. She's like a part of her school's robotics team where it's like BattleBots but cooler, I guess. Well, you can't go cooler than done. But Grant Imahara, okay? You can't go cooler than that guy and BattleBots, right? In her spare time, she practices not only removing any trace of her native inflection. That's crazy. Wait, what the fuck? What? Dude, it's like linguistic genocide. What is this? In addition to robotics, she loves linguistics. One of her hobbies since coming to the States has been collecting accents. In her spare time, she practices not only removing any trace of her native inflection, but also quickly switching between multiple different regional accents. She feels her personal best is the Southern Belle, but her favorite is the Valley Girl due to its use in popular culture. The article has a picture now in your evidence. What the fuck? Dude, it's... What is going on? Lucy, what are you doing, man? You can't do this. This is America. To be fair to Lucy, It's 1999. Gay jokes and racism were still haute couture, you know what I mean? So maybe it's fine for her. Let's just see this. There's a photo of Lucy Lang, aka Lang Min with Talon Claw, the robot she worked on at Mid-Eastern University. You found it in the school's newspaper. Yep. Presumably, she's Guy Hudson's daughter. So how do we know this? We don't know. But presuming that her mother is the one that had sex with Guy Hudson, because Guy Hudson loved to sleep with his business partners. And we know that Guy Hudson slept with the other business partner in probably Brazil too, but the other one was specifically... Who was it? It wasn't Brazil. Because there was 5 Roottree businesses. The 5 coituses? No. Shit, we gotta there we go. Australia. Yeah. No, France. I'm pretty sure it was France. Was it France? Who had sex with who? Main page for all pussy slang notes. Thank you, past me, for reading that. Who had sex with who? Charles Martin. Here we go. Charles Martin of Roottrees, Australia. Right. Okay. Yeah. Presumably that's why, because she got her tubes tied. Right? Wasn't that the thing? Like she got her tubes tied. I think it was Robin. Here we go. Robin. Yeah. To no longer have children. Right. Okay. Presumably she's one who had sex, but let's see. Okay. So thank you, Lucy Lang, Min Lang, for telling me about all the ways that you love collecting accents. Very, very good. Is there anything online about you? No, of course not. You're like a child. The one thing I was thinking of too. So remember how my complaints about the first half of this game is that at some point it gets a little like matching, like you have to like guess certain details. I was thinking to myself, that's stupid. Like of course the game is gonna eventually get you to click on details and like match them, because like I don't know if you've noticed this, but when you're young, until you hit the age of maybe 24, the world doesn't know you. In olden times, you could be like Henry from Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, where at the age of 15, he avenges his like dead parents, right? But nowadays, in modern day, most people will only publish a single paper by the time they're 22 to 24, right? And that's if you're in a field where you publish a paper and thus build prestige. Most of the time, you only become known to the world when you go out to your first job, which is usually after all the schooling's done, around 22, 24, right? So the world doesn't know you by this point. Like, nobody knows who you are. And so it makes sense that the game becomes more of a matching game at the end, because, like, what are these kids known for? They're just kids, you know what I mean? So I'm curious to see how this second portion handles all the information of all these people, because we're now getting information about Min Lang, who is a child of this other person, and we're getting interviews about the 2 Lang family members in the States, and talking about how their son went over to be the second or the right-hand man of Lang Xinyu, right? So we're getting into some pretty complex things with characters that seem to all have a past to them, if that makes sense. Let's go back to China. I like China. So we know about him. We know about Lang Hongbo. I don't know what else we have to learn about him, but there was something that I wanted to try and... It collects accents as racist. Let's not say that. Team Talon Claw. Here we go. Jaya Patel. Maybe I can search up their names. What's like Jaya Patel? No. I mean, Team Talon Claw was this one. Oh, you know what? There was one thing. There's one competition that I think they're a part of. I'm pretty sure it's that there's a competition that they're a part of that we should actually search up. Fairly certain. So if I see this, yeah, see they have a schedule, but they're currently traveling to play something. Or no, actually, that article is actually what would have resulted from this because of the interview. So, okay, no, it's fine. Oh, Team Talon Claw UK. Or Team Talon Claw UK. Oh. BattleBots? Maybe this doesn't work. Okay, so maybe we're done with this, and maybe we need to figure out some way of verifying that Min Lang or that Lang Min and then Lang Xinyu did sleep with Guy Hudson. Just so you know, you've put my personal accents into your personal collection too. Okay, can you please help me identify my accent? For a long time, I still don't know what my accent is. I've asked teachers, I've asked doctors, I've asked sociologists, I've asked psychologists, I've asked the police, I've asked everybody, and no one knows what I sound like. It's not Canadian, because the Canadians don't know what I'm saying. It's not Vietnamese, because the Vietnamese don't know what I'm saying. It's not my city, because people in my city don't even know what I'm saying. It's not some weird new invention of my friend group, because all my friend group doesn't know what I'm saying. What am I? What am I? And then we get into this whole idea of what is identity? What is who are you? Lang Thai. I think Lang Thai was a textiles, right? Yeah, it was. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Piece of Asia. Yep. Okay, yeah. So these two are the ones here. It sounds like Canadian with quirks. Why'd you say it like that? What's wrong with you? Tranquils. It appears that they import cloth. To be fair, I mean, yeah, I can kind of hear it too. I do sound Canadian with the quirks. It's Canadian with like a Vietnamese flair to it, but then also brain damage. It's literally brain damage. The reason why I stutter is probably because of brain damage, and so that probably comes out in my voice too. Implies that the IVF thing is faked. Okay, I think we're done with China. So we've seen. I need to organize this. I need to organize this. So I need to okay, wait. It's the brain slug. Hey, do you want to see a new emote? Search up Grass Lord. Just like look at Grass Lord for a second. I was going through the emote list and I was like, what the fuck is a Grass Lord? I still don't know what Grass Lord is. But I saw that and I was like, it looks like a cactus. So it looked cool. It's Grass Lord. I think we'll do Carl Roottrees. We'll do the CE line, right? So we'll do Carl Roottrees line because I have a bunch of notes on him with the fashion scholarship and stuff. And I should reorganize this down over there. Thank you again, developers, for giving us the ability to make 20 pages. Honestly, you've given me a new way to play this game. You've given me the ability to ruin my own life, basically. I mean, it's all it is, yeah. It looks like you when you don't put your hair in a bun. Oh, look at you having hair. Guy Hudson, here we go. Put Guy Hudson over here. Roottrees Brazil. I feel like we should do the 5 Roottrees separately, right? So we do Roottrees everywhere. We'll reorganize this later when we have more things that we can figure out, right? So we do you. Don't do. Okay, I no longer need placeholders because I have the ability to reorganize, so it's good. Okay, we'll leave Edson Suarez here because I think it is important to know about Edson Suarez in relation to him. And I'll just make a note on the other side to go over here to check out these people and check out what is the relation between the 5 everywheres. Because some of this also relates to an initiative started by the head honcho, by the patriarch, right? So it's not always a Guy Hudson thing. Or at least it's an extension of what he was starting, if that makes sense. Actually, you know what's funny? I look the same with my hair when it's all messy. I don't know how to do it in a way that feels clean. Like I at the birthday party, I looked like I was homeless in the way of that, you know, it just doesn't look very clean. It's very knotted. Actually, the funniest thing ever, you know, was my buddy. He wanted to like pretend to stroke my hair because we were doing like a bit. He stroked my hair. His hair immediately caught onto his snag. And he was like, "Oh God, it's so nasty, man." I'm like, "Sorry, bro. I didn't brush my hair because I woke up late." Mi Familia. Okay, we do Mi Familia. Oh, let me do the Roottrees Trust. So we do the Clancy Trust because this has a lot of details involving this person here. So the Ruby Sprat stuff. Mid-Eastern, glance at dress. If you know, you know. You know what? I give up on organizing my notes. I give up on organizing my notes because I don't even know how to begin. It's stressing me out. It's actually stressing me out, chat. It's actually stressing me out. Oh jeez, oh heck, oh jeez. Oh jeez, oh heck. Oh jeez. Oh jeez, oh heck, it's stressing me out. Lauren Roottrees, what are you? Oh yeah, you're like the Mi Familia. Okay, you stay here. Big Sass Seabass. This was actually technically a part of the Guy Hudson stuff. Oh god, this is so stressful. The Cabela Singing Fish thing. Yep. Piketty Magazine, very important. That's a very important tabloid. Cutting one's fringes for the week. You let it grow as long as the rest of the hair. Yeah, that's a very good choice. I regret in many ways cutting the fringe of my hair because when you tie it up, you can't get every hair to tie perfectly. So you end up it sucks. Like you just can't really tie it perfectly. And so you have hair that goes into your eyeballs. And I go, and it really does, like it gets annoying because you try to walk around, there's hair in your eyes, you try to eat, there's hair in your mouth. You are trying to look like a cool dude from like a wuxia thing, but you can't because your hair is everywhere. It's awful. Roottreemania, the Roottrees rift indecisionitis, arising when okay, I think that's good. Yeah, I think that's good. We'll do this here. Yeah, I think this is good. Okay, we'll do it like this. And we'll do details of people in Guy Hudson since he might have had sex with them. It's my biggest problem with the fringe. Again, I regret ever cutting my hair ever at all. I feel like it was just a bad move. You're better off never cutting your hair and always having it be even so you can tie it up properly. It's very important. Okay, deals with Guy Hudson since he might have had sex with them. Lots of sex. Okay, now we check out the other Roottrees everywhere. So there's one more Roottrees that we haven't seen, France. France is interesting because in France we know of a number of parties, and specifically these number of parties have an interesting tie to the rest of everything else too, because they're the ones that in many ways started the Roottreemania, because their legal case gave Samantha enough ammunition to change it to get her family into it. Ronald, Robert, and Gwen. We go to France. And also presumably this is where Ronald is staying, because Ronald is also now a president of the company, and presumably he's in France to make more candy. We don't really know though. It's a conspiracy thing. So we go to Roottrees, France. Oh, where's my green screen? Hey, wait a minute. Chroma key. Hey, where's my green screen? The whole point of this is like a green screen thing. It's funny. Main titties. Okay, good. Very good name. Great name. Main titties. Okay, so we go here, titties. POV. You download what's that? Is it you download a wallpaper engine and you accidentally, quote unquote, unclick the hide adult content? Oh no, there's titties everywhere. Ah, my eyes. Oh no, I guess I just have to keep this on my screen now. Oh no, I guess it's a part of my desktop background now. Oh no. Ah, titties, why? Wait, close the search. I need to line this up perfectly. I need the perfect alignment here. Nice. Very nice. Oh no, what did I do? I unticked the hide adult box. Oh no, I guess now there's titties on my desktop. Oh well, guess I might as well keep it. Roottrees! France is one of the companies created to manufacture and distribute Roottrees candy. It was developed as part of the Roottrees Everywhere initiative in summer 1979. This feels like it's like the Rewind's 1979 or something Korean drama. Apparently, Roottrees France was a non-starter. Damn. Negotiations broke down pretty late in the process, after the company had already been formed, and then the leadership of the Roottrees went through a very large change soon after. Wow. The CEO of Roottrees France was meant to be Tristan Robert, but why? And why did it break down? So this is interesting. So Roottrees France broke down pretty quickly. Okay, so we can do this anywhere. Where did I put this? Okay, it's on the Guy Hudson. No, it's here. Okay, so broke down shortly after company formation. But why? Was supposed... Oh, it's so much... It's chat, it feels so much better. Now that I know I can reorder notes and I have 20 pages, my life is complete. Like, this is amazing. Was supposed to be ran by a person named Tristan Robert. Now, this is my game theory. I need like a MatPat page or something. Theory: Guy Hudson cucked Tristan Robert and made him so mad that he dropped the deal. That's my theory. Okay, I'm sticking with it. Now we go and we search up Tristan Robert. Were you cucked? Tristan Robert is a businessman who at one time was in negotiations to take over Roottrees France. He is still alive, and you come across an interview unrelated to Roottrees from a few months ago. It seems that other countries have not been immune to Roottreemania, as you recognize the word Roottrees in one of the questions. It seems the interviewer snuck in a question about his experience with the company at the end of the 70s. The article is in French, and takes some time to translate section by section. He mentions Guy by first name only, and the tale he tells is quite ugly. The translation is as follows. Guy, the president of Roottrees, was one of the worst men I have ever met. He approached my wife about having an affair, which she refused. I knew it. He then kept insisting that this was the best way to celebrate the end of our business contract. That is crazy to me. I'm a programmer, okay? Like, imagine if every time you committed a new line of code in your program, all the programmers had sex. Like, this is absurd. This is absurd. This is not how you do business. You can't do this, guy. You can't do this. What is going on? Well, looks like Jimmy committed a new line of code. All right, take your pants off, everyone. Time to fuck. Like, I'm sorry, buddy. That's you have pizza. Go for a drink. Have some shepherd's pie. I don't know. Go to a pub. Hang out with the people. I don't know. Don't just have sex with everyone. Jesus. I don't think he expected her to say no, and I don't think he thought she would tell me what happened. I punched him in the face. Let's go. And refused to attend another meeting with this man. They lost a lot of money on this deal because not only was he a terrible person, but he was also a terrible businessman. When he died shortly after, it felt like the universe was working things out. I wasn't surprised to learn he had a secret child. He seemed to treat women like collectible pocket monsters. It seems mentioning Pokemon sidetracks the questions a bit, and the interview never returns to the subject of Roottrees. Maybe everyone in the... I can't even read the rest of it without laughing. I'm sorry. It's just... I can't believe... Maybe everyone in the industry, aka the software development industry, would be happier if it worked like that. I want you to ponder that as I go BRB. I need to put lip balm on my lips because I forgot. Talking a lot dries on my lips. BRB. Okay, I'm back. One thing I do wish that this game would eventually resolve is that every song is within the same decibel range. Like, it's loaded up in Audacity and just have like you don't even have to compress it. Just choose a decibel level and make sure that the peaks never go past it, and so that it's roughly the same range, because some of them get pretty loud. But I was actually thinking about this more. Okay, it doesn't, like, it's interesting to think about this idea of that sort of celebration of sex, because ever since I've been working in corporates, most programmers, to me, have always been very, very sexless. You know what I mean? Like, they don't have a proclivity for indulgence and lust. They have a proclivity for things like wanting to talk to me about hours about one Linux thing, or talking about the morals of Rust, stuff like that. You know, like very, very, very niche topics that it like tickles their brain in a particular way, and it tickles mine too. It's why we do it, right? I've only ever met actually 2 weird people within my time programming over the last 8 years professionally in the corporate. So the first guy was actually very scary. He was kind of a psychopath, actually, in very much that term. One day, my coworkers, and actually both of these people knew each other because they worked at the same time. They had a house party, and so the one person invited this person with the other team members, and so they would go hang out and chill and stuff like that. I didn't go because I don't care about parties. I'm like very introverted, so it doesn't really matter. But when they went, my coworker, she was like, "Yeah, he was a weird guy. Like we were standing, and then she was telling me how they stood on the balcony, drinking, smoking weed, just like hanging out. And the guy, he looks at her and he goes, "Wouldn't it be funny if I pushed you off the balcony right now and you died?" And she told me, she was like, it was like a record. It was like the record skip thing, or like the record came to a stop and everyone stared at him. And mind you, my entire team was there. So you have my coworker, who's like the programmer who works with me the closest. The contractor wasn't there because he was also busy smoking weed at home. Not that I was smoking weed at home, but I'm just saying he was also busy smoking weed with like them, but at his own place with his wife. Our designer was there, and our designer, she was also like, that guy was weird. Okay, so I had multiple parties telling me about this party and what he said. The only person who didn't hear it was the one other developer on our team, but he was sort of inside playing games. They were playing Mario Party or something, so he didn't hear it. But my designer, as well as my coworker, programmer, heard that. And at this point, I was within like a semi-lead role. So I was technically, like on paper, I was a lead, but I told them I don't want the lead position, but they gave me it anyways, plus the pay raise. It was very annoying. But when I heard that, I was like, oh, that's kind of bad. And I was like, are you okay? And she was like, not really. I feel kind of not happy to be with him. So anytime he had a question, she would push him to me. And I was like, don't worry, just like do that, right? Because I don't mind tanking for my coworker. Because I'm like, it's kind of weird to like say that in the first place, okay? And then, but the weird part is that he would ask me questions that were the basics of the job. Like, it was very hard to sort of look at his questions and go, you're a senior? Because he was hired on as a senior by this point. He was asking me basic questions about what do you think React is? And I was like, did you mean to type this in the chat GPT? What the fuck do you mean, dude? You're like a developer of 10 years. Shouldn't you know this? Turns out, eventually we found out he was working multiple jobs. And so he actually was like outsourcing our job in a way. And he used all of our code snippets and would put our example code snippets that we used to sort of guide him through our code project into an AI to like try and like build something from it. And we recognized, because the HR team found his data within like an online space, and they saw that he was employed somewhere else. And then B, my coworker, the one who he said he'd push off a balcony, she did her own separate investigation into him, and she realized that, wait a minute, he doesn't know anything. Because she actually set up, it was such a smart move. She only told me after, because she was like, she wasn't really sure if she should tell anyone, right? But I was the first person that she told, and then we brought it up to like the team lead, or like the manager. But by this point, he was like he was gone, right? But basically, she would ask him questions, like skill questions, like a skill check on programming, and it was like basic stuff. And it's interesting because she herself was intermediate at this time. Like she didn't quite hit senior yet, and I was still teaching her the ropes too, right? But the questions that she asked, and he had no good answers for it, and she like showed me the recorded answers, and I was like, yeah, this is bad. So yeah, it was a very fascinating thing that like happened. The other guy that I think had a proclivity for sex, it was the host of the party, and him and his wife didn't seem like they liked each other. And actually, what's funny is that they divorced shortly after. So now it makes sense. Now it makes sense, okay? But before then, when I joined, he was really big into having sex, smoking weed, and doing drugs, and trying to be cool and stuff. And I was like, buddy, I don't give a fuck. And mind you, I was younger than him by this point. I was like, not much younger, but still. But I was like, I'm not really into being cool. Like, I've had that phase in high school, and I'm all good now. Like, now you could look at me like a monster, and I wouldn't really care. But yeah, he would always talk about like the ways that he he's like, oh yeah, these people are so hot, and how he's like, and how like, yeah, like him and someone else are like in love, but they're not like in love, and how they would definitely have sex with each other, but they wouldn't because like they're like friends. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then like it was just so weird. And then he was talking about how at his party, that same party by the way, that's the same fucking party. That party was like an expose on like how weird these people were. It was so fucking weird. He was like, "Yo, you should have came, man. Like, it was so cool. Like, this, like our designer did like shrooms, and yeah, she's so hot." And I'm like, "Okay, that's weird. A, I don't care if she's hot. Like, I'm married. I really don't give a shit." B, I was like, that's kind of weird to say to somebody, and then like keep talking about her like she's a weird sexual thing while she's doing drugs. Like, it's a bit odd, right? He's like, yeah, like everyone's having fun doing drugs, hanging out, and like the designer's so hot and shit. Like dude, like I would fuck her. And I was like, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck, man. I'm just trying to program here. So yeah, those are the only two programmers that I've ever met who had a proclivity for sex, and they were both weird in their own ways. Now I realize that because he was divorcing his wife, they probably stopped having sex a long time ago, and he was probably extremely frustrated. But he also was just very weird about it, because when I'm frustrated about not having sex, I just I jack off. You know what I mean? Or like I handle it myself. I don't go around saying I'm gonna fuck my coworkers. That's fucking weird, man. Pay another person to do the technical interview for you and then enjoy your high-paying job, kind of classic. Now you guess you can AI instead. Yeah, that's the thing. It's called overworking. I don't blame them. If you can, then you can, and if they get the job done, then they can get the job done. The problem was that he was a definitive drag on the team, because I spent so much of the team's time was being used to like help him. At some points, even I stopped and I was like, "Look, I can't help you anymore. You have to know these things. Like this is like," and it wasn't even like hard stuff. If it was hard stuff, because I was like, again, the like team lead level, we could go back and forth on it, because like the hard stuff typically has no good easy answer. But this was the basic stuff. This was like, what HTML tag should I use? It's like, you ever hear of MDN, my brother in Christ? You ever see this website in your entire fucking life? It's like, I don't know what to do. And then he's asking about PHP, and it's like, buddy, last time I touched PHP was like 4 years ago. I don't know what the fuck is going on anymore, man. So anyways, yeah. Like, it works if you're not a drag and you get your stuff done. In which case, it's on the company for not utilizing you fully. And if you can make more money by doing two jobs and you satisfy the requirements of both, I don't necessarily see a moral wrong with it, because you're still getting paid like 100 times multiple less than the CEO, right? So it doesn't really matter to me. It's only when you're a detriment to the team that I go, okay, well, if you waste everyone else's time and you lower their performance and thus their possible earnings, then I see it as a problem. The AI thing too is interesting, because I don't think you can use AI for the complicated stuff. Every time I try to use AI for complicated programming, it falls apart at the seams very quickly too. And like, the two biggest things are that there's just not enough context that it can keep in mind to predict the next thing, because it doesn't know anything. Again, it's just a prediction model. Like, it doesn't know anything, right? So it's like, without a large enough context, it can't absorb the most important pieces. And if your code isn't structured in like a modular way already, it then will struggle, because the things that it'll write will make no sense. B is that, how many examples of genuinely complex code are out there, right? Even if you consume the entirety of, like, say, the Linux source code, how much of that can it reasonably predict and like spit out in a way that would fit your project? Probably zero, right? And at least that's in my experience. The more complex that you get and the more bespoke that you need it to be, the more useless it becomes. And most projects reach that point like very quickly, within like the first like, I don't know, like day of like any project. Complicated stuff, no, but you would guess it can be enough to pass some interviews. But using a living person is the traditional way. Oh, I see. Right. Yeah, okay, yeah, no. I agree. I do think AI can do interviews. I don't think AI can do the job on the spot, but for interviews, yeah, I can see that. But even then, it really depends on the interview. Like, system design, kind of, a lot of it tends to be very rote of like, how would you make a Facebook-like site? How would you do this and that? And then a lot of the technical questions are like, it would just probably skim off of Geeks for Geeks, and you just have the right answer or something, right? So, or like lead code. But the day-to-day, I find AI falls apart very, 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 very quickly. So, yeah, like using a living person, you'd have to like pay someone to do it for you, be your secondary worker, and also in many ways do the work for you, and probably even do the interview. Honestly, if it starts to delve into more dynamic questions, which nowadays I'm starting to see more interviews try to, but the industry as a whole is still very much embedded into the do leak code, pass on type of thing. Another side tangent. I really wish programming had something similar to the legal bar exam, but for programming, just so I can never have to do an interview ever again. If I could just do that one thing, it'd be good. Sorry about the programming talk. I just want to talk about the fact that this is a terrible business plan no matter what happens, okay? You do not have sex constantly. But okay, sorry. The other part of that is that the weirdest people I've seen have been within the management positions. Like, my manager was like anti-flu vaccine, even though she worked in like a healthcare adjacent thing, and I was like, that's kind of weird, man. Sorry, not my manager, my top level person, and then they would always talk about their like sexcapades and how they do like drugs and stuff, and I was like, guys, I don't really give a shit about this. I just want to make a system. Hated Guy Hudson because he tried to convince his wife to have an affair to celebrate end of business deal. What else? What else is there? Yeah, I hated Guy Hudson because he tried to convince his wife to have an affair to celebrate end of business deal, and also likes Pokemon. I don't know why he says this. Punched Guy Hudson was supposed to run Roottrees France. Mentioned that Guy Hudson has a secret child, and then has a secret child per Tristan Robert. But yeah, if anybody's being weird and very, very, very like, very, 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 very like super sexual, I tend to think of like CEOs. I feel like CEOs are like the weirdest people. CEOs in general always strike me as very odd people. Or just like business manager top level stuff. Some of them are normal, but I tend to find a lot of the weirdest personalities end up there. Like, it's like programmer weird is just that we're quiet and we have weird obsessions about things. That's typically what I see, right? Whereas like CEO weird is like, they want to bang their secretary or something. Like, it's weird in a different way. It feels very stereotypical, but in a way it's like the stereotypes are formed because of like the fiction that's based off of this stuff. Like how Silicon Valley talks about like startups and how they had the actual like consulting on the show to talk about this stuff. And startups are just this like weird mess, and that's actually how some startups do run. Like it's very odd. Pokemon, let's go with Pokemon. Pokemon, a Pocket Monsters is a video game franchise by Nintendo that premiered in different countries over the last few years. Wow. 1998 in the US. Wow, wait, so actually this game is set 1 year after Pokemon. And more recently in other countries such as in France. Besides Roottreemania, Pokemania has swept the globe in the last year or so. It's unclear if the franchise will have any lasting presence or if it will fade like Roottreemania has. Oh, it definitely lasted, yeah. From what you've heard, you might not even need to continue paying your ghost programmer, since depending on the country, it could be hard to fire you anyway. Even if it becomes obvious you faked the interviews, so you can just try to wing it, or try to learn to do the job very fastly. And now you guess AI can help somewhat too with similar stuff. Yeah, that's a good point too, yeah. I mean, the problem there though is that you eventually run out. Like, it is somewhat of a zero-sum game, where if you don't have the job, someone else will have it. And your reputation very quickly gets soured the more and more that this happens, right? Maybe it's startups that die very quickly after and don't have much pull. Sure, you can get a fair amount of money startup hopping for a very long time. But even then, at some point, the people who serially start businesses are connected with the people who serially start businesses, and so eventually your name will go around. And when they need to verify you as a hire, they're gonna ask people that they know, who have probably made the companies that you worked at and got fired for that exact reason for. So it's like, even on the startup side, you will eventually run out of the pool of jobs that would take you. And on the higher end side, you also would probably run out of it eventually as well, because they do keep track of this stuff. And they would probably write down on your system, like, hey, like, this person, don't hire them at any of our places because they have a really bad track record. But again, this implies that the system works well. As you can probably imagine, the system does have a lot of holes that you can poke and a lot of ways that people can slip through the cracks to get in, but it does feel risky to then fire the person, especially when you consider that, let's say you're a casual programmer, even in like Europe, okay? You're making what? Maybe at the top end, 75 to 80k euros, right? For like a very high-end senior role, okay? Depending on who you pay and who you hire as a ghost programmer, you might only be losing like 25 to 30k euros, right? You still have like 50k euros left to yourself. Like, that's still pretty good to actually make stuff happen, right? And so it really feels good to like continue on from there. And so it's like, is it really worth it to spend and then is it worth it to drop that and then have to go through the interview process again, where you lose earning capital and you lose earning opportunity just because you didn't want to hire your ghost programmer anymore? If I'm gonna do that, I would keep that person hired for as long as I can. Because, and again, when you have to learn the job, it takes away your ability to bullshit at other jobs. And remember, the more work that you have to do, the less time that you have to attend meetings. Because if you work 2 or 3 jobs, they each have meetings, and if it's within the same time zone, usually most places have meetings at the exact same time. Almost always, every place does a stand-up at the beginning of the day. How are you going to attend 3 stand-ups at 10 a.m.? It's impossible. So what do? Well, you work at one place in one time zone, so on and so forth. But even then, those are sort of like the routine meetings. Then you've got the random one-off meetings. These you don't know when it happens, and so they might actually just schedule a meeting at the same time as some other company's meeting. Like, you don't know. But the more time you have to spend at a job, the less time that you have to bullshit. And I think if you're gonna do overwork, you should learn to bullshit, and you should focus on bullshitting and being a manager more than you should actually programming or like doing the work. So I don't know. It just doesn't really seem like it's worth it to fire your ghost programmer. Like, it's because then you get all the same downsides as before, but your only thing is that you now have a job. And it's like, I don't want to spend that money to have a job. I want to spend that money to make more money by exploiting people. You just have to hope that the startup doesn't fail. Well, so even if the startup doesn't fail, right? Even if the business doesn't fail, you'd be surprised at how often these like business leaders go to these mixers within your like city. At least here in North America, it's like a lot of them attend the same mixers. Like, you go to 1 or 2 mixers, you see the same people and the same faces at these events talking to each other, even like years apart. And you go, hey, I remember you. Oh, you have a new company? Oh, you're still at that old company because you guys are almost about to IPO? That's really cool. I don't like talking to them because I'm not a business guy, but it is interesting to see that word gets around very easily and people get very, very connected very quickly. It's almost more rare for you not to be connected the higher up you go. So, and with startups, it's like the chance of the CEO knowing you is pretty high. You guess if you're a ghost programmer, you can make a chat app application and charge other programmers per word written /read. That? Oh, as in like the request? Oh, I see what you mean. Sorry, I was just trying to think of how that would work. But the thing is like you can communicate a lot in very little words. Hey, make me a lamp stack React app to, I don't know, make a website go. And it's like the complexity of that is probably unknown because it's like, what do you even want from it, right? I'd probably charge like a couple $100,000 for it just to really, squeeze the overworker dry. Maybe better that they just have like a random contract and they just say whatever, and it's like, okay, just do the work, but I guarantee you a salary, and then their salary is probably gonna match wherever they're like working from. There was one story of this dude. He had a backdoor into his company, and he basically VPN'd some programmer from overseas into it. He was paying that dude like 12k or something, and he was making like 100k or more. And it was pretty damn good, right? That 12k or something was like it seems like a low amount, but for where that person was living, for their cost of living converted over, they were living the dream. So again, it was a security issue, but it goes to show how much you can get away with depending on the job and where you get it from. Yeah, humans don't work like LLMs. Yeah, I mean, because it's like there's so in many ways we're better than LLMs, because if you don't say exactly what you want, the LLM won't know. Whereas like if you have a report with your ghost programmer, let's say you're my ghost programmer, and I say I need a 3D lookbook for the Infinity Nikki lookbook, that alone might be enough for you to make that. Whereas with an LLM, it's like you have to describe every single piece in excruciating detail, and so it doesn't really work, right? So it's like there's so many blanks that you can fill in, and even without that report, you can fill in a lot of blanks too. Like it's like you know on paper and you know the context of the job, and they say, hey, I need this feature done by tonight, and it's a feature to perform logging, then you would know that, okay, well, to do the logging thing, it's within the specific tech stack, you'd have to do this and that, right? Like it's, I don't know, I'm trying to think of like a non-contrived example, but that's like the only things I can think of because it's been a long time. But that's basically, yeah, like it's like humans can do a lot. Surprisingly, and maybe sadly, a lot of people that you know are smarter than you would think. Not me though. Not me. If you think that I'm smart, I want you to not think that. I want you to realize that I'm not that smart, and that you should think about the fact that don't look up to me. Don't worry, I don't. Thank you. Thank you. What was that phrase that you used last time? What's that? It was like a TSKR. Okay, everyone has to type TSKR when they join. Remind me to do the TSKR bot. What was it? Twitch chat bot. Bot that forces TSKR. Okay, okay. Write that down. So, we know Guy Hudson has a fake child. Oh, look. Oh, wow. You just came out of nowhere. Welcome, chat. How are you? How was your day at work? Or how was your nap? I don't really know which is which. Time zones are weird. Well, how do I get to a secret child? Guy Roottrees child. Sorry, Guy Hudson child. Guy Hudson secret child. Guy Hudson. Let him speculate. Oh wait, this is a new page. Look, only president. No. Stories of debauchery and swinger parties. No, wait, no. We have read this. Yeah. So we've read this. It makes sense. Butler County Police. Maybe. This is the only lead for Butler County Police. Roottrees lawyers have been quick to threaten litigation to anyone who has tried to disparage Guy or the company in the public. Okay. I think I know who his secret child is. It's her. It's Lucy/Min Lang. Well, Lucy Lang and then Lang Min, based on how you read the name. I think this is his child. Because if you look at her mother, this is her mother. Brown eyes, black hair. And this is her. Brown eyes, black hair. And Guy Hudson is this guy. Okay, my theory is out the window. I don't know who this person is. Somebody has a tattoo on their hand, though. Tattoo on their hand. How was food, honey? Oh yeah, I forgot. You two married on web pitching. Get some dashboard designing. You wish you had better info on what to actually make. Wait, okay. When you get design requests, right? Do they really give you nothing? Because how common is it to get a request to design something as a designer, and then you get no info as to what to do? Because when I saw the way that we contracted our designer and the way that we gave them no information, I was appalled. Because to me, it's like, wouldn't we want to tell them what to make and why we make this thing? But it seemed like in many ways they didn't really care. And so we just gave them like shit information. Ronald Roottrees. Wow. Hey, wait, here we go. Depends on the person. One might say exactly what to make, other won't say anything. If you get shit info, shit comes out. Good. Have you ever thought about hiring a ghost designer? So we have Ron Roottrees. Ron was announced as president of Roottrees during the Roottrees Rift, but the next press release immediately reversed the announcement and instead said that Ron and Clark would take over. A few weeks later, Ron was dropped from the title entirely. What? So is he no longer president, or is he president still? I don't know. There are hundreds of results about this development, but most articles are retellings of basic details. Some veer into heavy speculation based on an article about Ron in Business Watch. Good to know. AI taking over slowly. Soon you'll be ghost. Listen, I'm gonna tell you right now. Every time I look at an AI art, I think to myself, I don't think it's ever gonna pick off, because I genuinely don't think AI art can create something so novel and new that it would blow our minds, right? Like I don't think you'll ever not be necessary. On top of that, it's like, who's to say that the way that we're doing it now is even good? And so the patterns that it's learned now, how do we even know if it's actually good? Like, we're still figuring out, in many ways, for instance, how to make things accessible for people who have certain disabilities, right? Like, it's that's still a growing field. And so it's like, do we really know? I'm not really sure. UI for sure, maybe not UX. You know what? I beg to differ, if only because I don't want to think of a future where my UI is made by a bot. Although there is something to be said about the fact that all health bars do look the same. But again, think about this. Imagine if AI was out before Dead Space, and so everyone thought, oh, UI is done, okay? Like, there's no more need for fancy UI. Dead Space comes out, his spine is his health bar. No AI could make that. And I feel like you still want that in like everything. Like, you still want that in many different places. Maybe not for web design, I don't know. But at least for, like, I don't know, the more creative aspects, I feel like it'd be nice. But even for, like, web design, I don't know, maybe you want, like, a different health bar. I don't know. I'm just trying to be hopeful for you, okay? I'm trying to be the optimist in a world where I'm trying to be the optimist in the world where you've given up. Stop giving up. You're making me sad. Have some hope, damn it! Was announced. Not sure if still El Presidente. Has article in Business Watch. There are common patterns, menus, and icons. No reason to use anything else when people are already familiar to with them. See, at some point though, somebody's not gonna know what the floppy disk icon means. At some point, we're gonna reinvent the save icon into something that is universally understandable. Then, it's over. Then, we need a real designer instead of AI, but it's too late. The year is 2077. There are no designers left. It's all AI. You ask AI to give you a new save icon. It gives you a floppy disk. You ask it, no, give me something else. It gives you then a Blu-ray disc. Then you say, please, no, something new. Then it gives you a VHS tape. When all you wanted was the Superman S. It's over. Web design falls apart. Next thing you know, it's you know, I don't know. Fuck you. Okay, Ron has also done some interviews saying the truth of what went on behind the scenes is not something he wishes to discuss. He said he hopes to release a movie about it someday. What? 3 weeks ago, Ron's mother Gwyn died in Paris, France. He and his brother Robbie have seemingly made amends. Yes. Oh man, Gwyn's dead. Oh wait, I knew that. Sorry, I'm not sad anymore because I knew she had died. Oops. Seemingly made amends with his brother Robert. You like the sound that I make when I give up. It's the sound of confusion. It's the sound when my brain is struggling because, like, chat, you know how hard it is to talk for 8 hours in a row, okay? I've been thinking about this. Yet another tangent. Yeah, I know we've only solved. I've only written 5 lines. Yet another tangent, okay? Yes, KR. IKR. Very good joke. Very solid joke. I've changed my stance on making money from streaming. At first I was like, does it really make sense? You know? Because it's a bit like e-begging. But at the same time, how do you entertain a crowd for 8 hours? Like, that's the kind of absurd level of standard of entertainment that you don't have in any other entertainment field. A movie, you entertain per the script, but sort of the most entertaining bits are put into a supercut and it's released as a film, right? Some films are 6 hours, some films are 1 hour, some films are even half an hour. But the key is that you only need to be entertaining once and then it's over with, right? For a set period of time and you're done. Comedians, I mean, they can tell the same jokes over and over and over because one comedy club is not like another comedy club. You want a new audience that, like, laughs at you and increases your self-confidence? Go from Philadelphia to Texas. It's fine, right? They find anything funny there, right? Especially human rights. Kidding. Maybe. The trade war's on. Like even singers, like you go to a concert, singer sings for like a couple hours and then they're done. To be fair though, I think tours are the closest thing. I think artist tours are the closest thing to live streaming in terms of the amount of time that you're on, but it's significantly more intense for the entire time. Like an artist on tour is basically doing 100 times or 1,000 times what a streamer would in terms of the performance for hours at a time, multiple days in a row in multiple different places. And it has to be the same quality every single time, because if it doesn't sound like what they hear, at least on the DVD, or sorry, on the CD, if not better, then there's no point to go to, you know, the concert, right? Y'all are so obsessed with human rights, but have you ever thought of human wrongs? I've never thought of human wrongs in my life. Humans are always right. So when you consider these like groups, and when you consider everything that they do, right? When you think that the only thing that could maybe match the effort and or like that could really exceed the effort of like at least entertaining somebody, not to say the work itself, I think still streaming is the easiest job in the world, but there's a certain level of like work within entertainment specifically. Like there are very few analogs in the entertainment industry for the type of thing that live streaming is. The need for you to keep an audience entertained for 6+ hours at a time, that's basically unheard of within the industry, right? Movies, again, like it's like even with the most takes possible, like it's like you go for 100 takes, for the most part, once you're done, and there's sort of like downtime, right? It's not like that in streaming, where it feels like you have to do new things every single day and it has to be new. With a movie, you can copy that movie and play it at multiple theaters, and everyone's gonna love it, and you make $1 million, right? Again, it feels like artists on tour are the one of the few things that actually goes beyond that. Otherwise, you're a comedian, you can say the same jokes over and over, night after night. It's a new audience every single time. You might slip in 1 or 2 new jokes here and there, but for the most part, you can get away with your very solid current material, even just going on the tour, right? Like it's fascinating to sort of look at it in that light. When I look at it in that light, I think to myself, you could technically, like, I think you could argue that I think you could give money to a streamer just for the sake of them streaming, and I think it would be okay, right? But that's only if they actually genuinely entertain you. Because if I said the same thing every single day and people were dropping like the flies, I wouldn't even blame you. But that's where the difficulty comes in, is like, I feel like I'm in the comedian mindset with the actor requirements and the need to sort of like perform a show constantly as if I'm a singer. Like it's weird how a lot of my experiences in those fields sort of come together, but I'm doing it every single day, and it like, or like how whenever I stream, and I recognize how difficult that is to like nail the perfect mix to where it's entertaining enough over a set of 6 to 8 hours, and where I can still come up with new material to entice you to give me money. Please don't sub. Please don't sub. I don't want you to sub. Listen, just give me money for my game, all right? But we're gonna make a game, not Snow Job. Snow Job is dead. We're gonna make a game, pinball, roguelike. Give me money for that, because then I'll feel like I've done something good for you all. Okay? Okay. Let's go check out Ron and Business Watch. No, not the cousins. I don't care about the cousins. Let's go check out Ron and Business Watch. Why am I checking out Ron? I don't know. Ron Roottrees. But again, like, basically what I'm trying to say is, if you do want to sub, you can. But if you give money to me, then you can. Just know that I'm one single person, and it's surprisingly hard to do everything by myself. In light of the fact that, like, I'm also busy in real life too. Snow Job dead before it even started. Aware. Listen, it'll happen. Okay, we'll do Snow Job after. It's just because, like, okay, look, Snow Job, I feel like it's better within VR chat, because VR chat, not to say that it's the better VR game, because Sandbox does have a VR mode that you can activate, but there's already an ecosystem within VR chat of people hanging out. And so it's like, why don't we just make the world Snow Job within VR chat, with all the existing ecosystem of the social aspect, of the community aspect that the game sort of thrives on, and you just make it for a VR experience, and that way it really does feel like a Christmas celebration time, right? Because the whole point of it is to have a space to hang out in, like a Christmas space. And so like it kind of just makes sense. And you have mostly the same tools. It's just an old version of Unity, but hey, it works, right? So it's my goal. It's my goal. I just recognize that Sandbox is, in many ways, probably better for different types of experiences, right? It's not that it's a lesser experience, and it's not that you can't have a social experience within Snowjob, but it feels more like you should have something that has gameplay to it and goals and sort of like progression to it. Like it feels like it's a more traditional arcade structure in Sandbox, whereas in VR chat, there's already a semblance of community and socialness where strangers will show up into a random like a place to hang out with you, right? I think even though Snowjob has that party system, I just tend to find that it's very hard to convince people to join a random server. And somehow VR chat in many ways has solved that problem long ago by simply being a social game. If you ask me, a JavaScript and HTML game is the way. I want you to leave this chat and never come back. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I thought of that too. I mean, I am building something for the site that's basically that. It's like a little web game that you have to play to enter the website, which I think is funny because it forces you to be good. It's like a skill check to enter my website, but I don't really want to do that. Like, JavaScript is a nice language for certain types of things. Like async stuff is really, really handy within JavaScript, but like TypeScript makes it bearable for large projects where you have like actually defined types and you know what's going on. But at least for web stuff, I never want to do anything for the web that's super complex because of all these differing requirements and platforms that it runs on. Whereas like at least I can guarantee you if you download my game, it'll mostly work on your machine, barring that you have a graphics card that's above the 980, right? Roughly, so it's fine. You'd rather run a marathon than write code for Unity. Well, actually, it's even funnier because for VR chat, you don't write C#, you write Udon, which is their bastard language. It's a bastard language that they made to replace C# in Unity because I don't know why. They made their own VM that runs within Unity to process all your code. So you have yet another layer of abstraction because C# code runs in the .NET runtime, which is its own VM. So what you end up having is like two different VMs. So not even kidding you. So you have the C# VM, and as far as I can tell, Udon itself is made in C#. So basically, like Udon itself is running its own VM. So at least in my mind, it seems to me that you have two VMs, and one VM is running inside another VM, and then both things are running at the same time, and thus you have two layers of interpretation of your code. And the worst part then is that you can't even use the language that you know because it's a whole new language. So not only did they make a new VM, but they also made a new language for some reason, instead of just giving you C# within Udon. Like, I wouldn't have minded if they made a VM for C# and they said, okay, well, we'll just make a VM for C# that has limitations to it for safety, right? Like, that's fine. But then they said, okay, we'll make a whole new language, as if the world isn't already inundated with programming languages. It's like we have too many programming languages, and like we already have too many niche programming languages. And by the way, did you know that Fortnite? I'm not even kidding you this. Okay, Fortnite. Fortnite specifically the creative portion of Fortnite, where you make your custom games, has its own programming language called Verse. So you have all these different programming languages that let me use in one single context. It's all DSLs all the way down. At least with C# you can go get a job. At least with C#, I can apply to web ASP shops. Instead I have to learn fucking another DSL. That's why Sandbox to me was like a breath of fresh air, because they actually decided to keep C#. They just built a fence around it, and I was like, that's okay, this is great. VMception sounds even worse. Yep, yeah, it just gets worse and worse. What's that? Pyramid. Yeah, further nut. Yeah, it just gets, I don't know, it's bad. It's bad. It just, I don't know, you get just bad. I mean, on the bright side, it means you don't have to write code that interfaces with Unity, because I do also hate the way that they... It's weird, because like, I can never really do things well within Unity's thing. Like, it just feels like everything's all over the place. So I never really know how to approach things. But at the same time, it's like that scene, like everything else about it is fine. I just don't know which things to use, if that makes sense. Like it's every single API that's available. It's like there's always some alternative, and it's never really clear which is better than the other for some situation. I'm sure it probably gets more knowable the more advanced you get at it. But why do that when you have a single golden path in most everything else, right? And also, I just hate C# in general. Like I can't get my head around C#. It's both very easy and also very nonsensical. Like, what do you mean there's a programming language where you can't have free-floating functions? Like, what you can't just have like a global call, like a call table, and you just like have that one function there? Like, why does everything need to be within a class? Why do I need a singleton in class? Like, it feels like somebody who took object-oriented programming and said to themselves, "Yeah, this is what I want to like plan my life around." It's actual torture. And then, but at the same time, other bits of the language are amazing. Like the standard library is fantastic. It's coming from C++, where the standard library feels very sort of all over the place and very niche in many different specializations. It's interesting to see the opposite end, where C# has niche standard library stuff for game stuff. So maybe I'm just benefiting from it, and so therefore I see no problem with it when it's the same conditions anyways. But I digress. I'm simply biased, as all humans are. But the language itself is kind of cool, because you can do stuff like coroutines. I don't know. I'm trying to think of like a very good reason to use. I was gonna say it's a safe language, but no, you can still run into null errors, so it's not safe. Like, if I had to choose languages to learn, right? I'm just gonna say this. I would only learn these 3 languages. C++, because C isn't that hard, and so once you know C++, you know the basics of C as well. And C isn't that hard. It's actually a surprisingly simple language. So you sort of like double down, and it's also very easy to get low down to the machine and get like really fast stuff, and you have manual control over things, but it's the shotgun to your foot thing. JavaScript, and I mean really TypeScript, because I don't ever want to deal with untyped languages ever again. It's such a hassle for larger programs. And either way, in the larger programs that I did work with that were in JavaScript, everyone just used JSDoc anyways to document all of their like types. So I would do that because the web requires JavaScript. Up until WASM actually gets good, but I don't think it ever will be good yet. And then I would do Rust. I would do Rust, right? Because Rust actually brings something new to the table that's interesting. The problem is that I don't know if Rust is getting its pie eaten by things like Zig, but I don't think Zig is any better, because Zig just seems to me like C, but more. So, and I already have C++, and that's already too much for my head. So, I'd rather just learn Rust, TypeScript, and C++, and just use that for everything. Because even for mobile, you can just write everything within C++, and learn the bare minimum of like say Swift, and the Java or Kotlin to do the UI view stuff, which is itself its own DSL anyways, with all the macros and shit like that. So, or like the annotation. Sorry. So yeah. What about Rust with WGPU? So it's actually getting better. I think the only thing left that's stopping many people from using it, I think the last thing I heard was that it doesn't have bindless rendering, bindless shading. Basically, it's a thing where you don't have to continually pass data from CPU into GPU every single frame that you want to run something. You just bind it once at the start of the program, and it pulls from that data directly. And thus, you don't have this, like, you don't have to cross that barrier every single time, which increases performance for things that happen often, which is what graphics is, and things that happen over a large scale, which is what graphics is. I think that's the only thing that's like stopping it from being really, really good. But that's like such a niche use case that you can probably make most games without it, because that's what games were made before it. That you probably won't even run into that issue unless you're doing something very, very, very weird and interesting. Like, you'd probably run into it if you have totally accurate battle simulator, right? But how many people are making that game? How many people make that versus Solitaire? You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure I can find a million more Solitaire clones and visual novels than I can find totally accurate battle simulator. So, it should work out of the box right now. The only weird part about it is the decision for a new shader language is baffling. I get why they did it, and presumably, at least the speculation is because of a dispute between Apple and the Kronos. But what that means is every single project that uses it has to also package Naga to do the translation from WGSL into HLSL and GLSL depending on the platform. And so it's like, you don't really gain anything. You just have to learn yet another new DSL for writing shaders in. And it is better in many different ways. Like, it does have some cool features to it, but it's also missing some things too that are apparently for the more advanced shaders. So it's like, but key though is that it's more that you have to learn. When, you know, I think since 2020 something, Vulkan has had support for whichever shaded language that DirectX has, and DirectX I think has support for whatever shaded language Vulkan has had, and neither of them have support for WGSL, so you need this like intermediate layer. Like, it's like, it feels like the right approach, but it feels like one of those approaches that is like change the whole world to fit a paradigm. Whereas like the integration work and the cooperative approach that you see with Vulkan and DirectX feels like they don't want to change the world. They just want to convince you to use their platform because it's better, if that makes sense. The problem is that, again, I don't know enough to be useful. I only know enough to be dangerous. So all of this might mean nothing in the end, right? I don't really know. You try to learn web GPU, you'll try again at some point. I don't blame you. It's a little confusing, but it's also actually kind of nice. The big thing is that web GPU, it's surprisingly low level, and it is fairly simple to get started to go straight to triangle, but it feels like you have to do a lot more to get beyond that into the more advanced stuff. And like it's on top of the fact that there's so much new syntax to learn with like the shaded language, for instance. It feels a bit complicated, and then the abstractions don't work at the moment. At least so far. To be fair, the only abstraction that I've tried is Three.js, right? But in the Three.js abstraction, if you don't have Web GPU support, and this is another issue with Web GPU support, Web GPU is only supported in like a handful of browsers, okay? Like a handful. Actually, I think it's only 2. I think it's every Chromium one. I don't even think it's supported in Safari yet, and Firefox has none yet. So you have to fall back to WebGL, which means you have to do things that the way that you used to, but the ways are different. So you can't actually do that. But it's like WGPU actually does allow that, because WGPU can actually translate everything to some other layer. But then it's like the abstractions that are built on top of that, like Three.js and stuff, don't make use of that. So let's say a simple case of you want to write a shader and you want to make it run also in Firefox. You either have to run Naga manually as part of your build process, or you just have to force people to go to Chrome or something. Like there's no easy built-in solution yet at the high level to work with in a way that feels easy to use, and you're kind of forced to sort of just make do with a lot of manual statements all the place. Which, to be fair, Three.js doesn't advertise the web GPU support. It's all experimental. You have to go find it in a random branch. You have to change how your imports work too. Like, it's a whole different thing. But it's enough to make you go, okay, well, I have to learn the low level. It's different from what WebGL was, so I need to learn all of this new stuff. And there's new syntax for all these different things too. So it's like I have to get my mindset oriented to it. It's much more realistic to what graphics programming is today. It has been for like 10 years, right? But it's something new to learn, and that cost you have to pay at some point, and no one wants to pay the cost, right? Because it's painful to learn, honestly. As you get older, my brain becomes more mush. And then on top of that, you know, if you want to fall back to it, if you weren't using an abstraction like, say, Three.js, or you don't make your own, you have to rewrite everything, for the most part, because it's like slightly different syntax to do certain things. But for the most part, like, let's say your operations are maybe the same, but like the syntax of how they actually build those operations, for instance, those like commands, differ. And then your shaders are the largest difference, where you have to have a whole different language doing it. But maybe you just detect a browser and you send over a different type of file for it based on whatever is there. But how reliable is that? Because of fingerprinting and how we stop fingerprinting now. Like, there's a lot of different concerns from an end developer where I'm like, I don't know if it's worth it yet. You know? But the problem is that then it's a chicken and an egg problem. It's like, if it's not worth it yet, and not every browser supports it, and you have to be in this limbo state for some browsers, what's the point? When you could spend your time doing WebGL, and it's not like WebGL is deprecated. It's two different tracks and branches, effectively, in the same way that OpenGL still exists, even though Vulkan is out there. You know, like, it's just, I don't get it. I don't get it. But WGPU is cool, okay? I think WGPU is cool. It's just WebGPU in particular has to deal with the hard problem of browsers and the vendors that make the browsers need to play ball with each other. Whereas WGPU, every vendor already has a platform on their native side. Like you have Metal for macOS, you have DirectX on Windows, you have Vulkan for Linux, and also cross-platform. So there's no need to get them to play ball. They're not playing ball. WGPU is the ball. WGPU is the chords. And then they all play ball on the same chord, and it just translates things. Like, it's nice. It like works. If that makes sense, you know what I mean? I'm gonna go pee. Just think about that. Just think about that. Keep all that information in your head. Think about that. And weep. Why did you make me talk about why did you make me talk about programming? I'm now depressed. Wide jar. You know the wide jar emote? You can actually combine it with other emotes. So if you have an emote of the, let's say you do the pointless emote, and it's on 7TV, you can put the pointless emote inside the wide jar because it looks like a cum jar. Mm-hmm. Suffer. Spatar, like suffer. Thank you, chat. Thank you for letting me suffer. At least you suffer too. I'm glad. Okay, you know, who was it that said last time? I am glad that you're all programmers too, because, and it is funny that this chat has attracted so many different programmers. So maybe this is a programming channel because it does mean that we do have in many ways the right amount of skill and shared experiences and shared context to understand each other's plights. Like, I feel heard, and I feel felt, and I feel seen. I feel like this community understands my rage against the machine. That's crazy. I lost the video game. Okay, don't you dare do that, Hideo Kojima. Leave Hideo Kojima out of this. Pile driver, wide alert. Okay, that's a good combo. That's a very solid combo. Business Watch ran an article about 2 months after the Roottrees rift about what really happened with the Roottrees. The article mentions that nobody from Roottrees that they reached out to was willing to go on record. Instead, the timeline of events has been constructed from public record, accidental leaks, and a source on the inside. The only parts that are new to you are also the most vague parts. What? The most vague parts? The ones supposedly confirmed by their anonymous source. Oh. The timeline says that the family actually held a preliminary vote after Carl Roottrees died, but before the release of the 6 pieces, and decided they wanted Ron Roottrees to take over because of his experience running RR Productions, which is funny because it's a movie production company involving only him, and his brother tried to steal money from, so. And because he was a well-known and well-respected Roottrees for his one show, Big Brother. Oh, that's a very good hug emote, panda hug. That's a very nice emote. Share that hug. It's good. But Ron seemed way too eager and personally motivated. What? They were worried he would gut the Clancy Trust to remove Robbie Roottrees. Oh, which would also, in many ways, if he guts the Clancy Trust to remove Robbie Roottrees, would also deny Roottreemania at the source as well. And in many ways would turn it into a trust that anybody could deny someone else. Mm-hmm. The family was notoriously unwilling to do anything that could risk their wealth. They stalled, and Ron became frustrated with the delay. When 6 Pieces came out, he saw his chance to force action while the family was in the limelight, and released the press release himself in an attempt to get the ball rolling faster. I need to fix something really quick, sorry. Okay, how's that feel? Hello? Testing. Sorry. So what I had to do when we were in the VR segment was I had to delay the audio by half a second. Because of how the stabilizer works. Because to stabilize... You want to know the programming of image stabilization? So to stabilize images, you need a number of frames before in order to determine how much to stabilize by and whether or not you even need to stabilize. Because you need a reference point by which to determine how many frames to sort of like smooth out the motion from. And what you do is you crop the frame a little bit, so you zoom in a little bit so you have excess. And then your frame is like a 16:9 frame, but the source frame gets enlarged to like a 16.1 by 9.1 frame. So you have like an extra bit of space to work with, but you're cropped but the output frame is still the same, okay? And then you use that to determine how much distance is actually being moved between frames by tracking certain points automatically and seeing where they now lie within the new frame, thereby allowing you to determine how smooth you go. But to do so, because frames also tie directly into time, 60 FPS means that every frame is about 16.6 milliseconds, right? If you want to do a more smooth stabilization, you need more frames. And every frame that you add adds 16 milliseconds of delay. So you do that over and over and over. You want like 10 frames worth of smoothing. That's only about 160 milliseconds. But you want 20 frames of smoothing, which is a lot smoother, which is what we had. That's about 350 or so. Like 340, 350. It rounds up pretty nicely, just in case for like, you know, processing time, because you don't really know how long it's going to take. And you can do the math using OpenCL on every platform, and it just works. Sounds fake. Stabilization is not real. Well, tomorrow's the big test to see if it works in American Truck Simulator. So sorry. That's why everything was delayed by almost half a second, because of that stabilization. I had the plugin works, and it tells you how much you have to delay your audio sources by to make it all line up. So sorry about that. I don't want to program anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I miss when I knew nothing. I miss when I was stupid. I miss when I was, you know, so stupid so as to not be dangerous at all. I miss when the only danger that I had was to myself, you know? Like, I feel like the Roottrees. I feel like this detective who knows too much. Who, by the way, this detective has now Samantha shares within the Clancy Trust. And so if he ruins this Clancy Trust, he loses all of the money. He loses his entire payout. I feel like this. I know too much. I'm too dangerous, and that's why life gets more complicated. I miss the days when I used to solve problems like, help, my husband's cheating on me. Can you find him? Or, I lost my child 20 years ago. Please find them. Or, help, my wife is cheating on me. Can you find them? And you realize that the husband and the wife are both cheating on each other. I think I'm still burnt out. I think I'm still burnt out from programming. Cinema. Cinema. Oh, that's crazy. Cinema. I think I'm still burnt out from programming if it makes me feel like this. When Six Pieces came out, he saw his chance to force action while the family was in the limelight and released the press release himself in an attempt to get the ball rolling faster. This caused chaos within the family. They tried to save face by allowing Ron to take over as co-president with Clark, but according to Business Watch's source, Ron was impossible to deal with. He seemed like he was unwilling to protect the Clancy Trust, and they eventually let him go. After that, the role passed solely to Clark, who nobody was excited about, but seemed like the safest choice. Okay, so he's not actually the president anymore. That's interesting. So he's not the president. Is not a co-president, was actually ousted because he wanted to dismantle, to effectively break the Clancy Trust, to get Robert out of it because of what happened with the Gamba. Wait, but this is weird though. The above seemingly contradicts the fact that the brothers have made amends, because if they really did like each other, why would he still want to get rid of Roberts from it and thus put a stop to Roottreemania, since that's the primary clause it operates under? Why did they put that inside parentheses? I don't know. What I've learned is you can put anything inside the parentheses as long as it's slightly related, but not exactly related. It reads fine, but it looks stupid. It reads fine, looks stupid. But who makes the rules anyways? I say as an uneducated swine who self-taught himself everything and dropped out of school at grade 10 and is telling these people, like, honestly, I dropped out of school in grade 10. Why the fuck are you guys listening to me? Do I even know what WGPU is? Do I even know what programming is? Have you ever seen me write a line of code? Have you ever seen me write something? You don't know. I dropped out of high school in grade 10, buddy. Do I really know anything? No. Don't trust me. Maybe it was just supposed to be a quote. No. I don't remember. I have bad memory, so therefore I can never write an accurate quote. Finger snap. Fake it until you make it. Well, no. Don't make it. Once you make it, you get very depressed in the life. And then, like, now I'm burnt out of a programming. It's not worth it. No, it's not worth it. Robert Roottrees. Clark. Show me Clark. Wow. Wait, no. His name is Clark something, right? What's his actual name? His name is Clark Rafferty LaRue. Clark Rafferty LaRue. Clark Rafferty LaRue, as well as Ruby Spratt and her company Ruby Legal Enterprises, were featured in Business Watch after the company took over as the keepers of the Clancy Trust. There's an article about the process that interviews both Clark and Ruby. Here we go. This is actually very important to know. You see, so you gotta make it big enough. So you have to make a big enough project that you never finish it. Honestly, that in many ways, that's what I do, right? It's like, I think of every project that I ever make as a way for me to learn what it is. And even if I don't finish it, at least I take my learnings away for when I do make something that I want to finish. The problem is that it's difficult to carry motivation through, right? Like, the guy who made Animal Well, I think spoke to it very, very well. He said, initially passion carries you, but discipline is what gets you past the finish line. Same with Eastshade Studios. So the developer of Eastshade Studios, who, by the way, if you watch the video of how they made their game, he puts fucking ice cubes to cool down his ramen noodles. This is the most absurd thing I've ever seen in my entire fucking life. Anyway, so the founder of Eastshade Studios, who made his game, also mentioned that same thing, where once the passion died out, it was all about discipline. However, again, take his words with a grain of salt, because he cools down his ramen noodles with ice cubes after he cooks them. I'm not even kidding you. That's a real. Like, who the fuck does that? What the fuck, man? I don't know. To you, it seemed like they were quoting what other people said. Well, you know what? I don't have the. I'm like an AI. I don't remember the context. I don't have a long enough context window to recall what that sentence is about. So let's move on. I'm like a shitty, version 0.1 AI model. Okay, like I'm tired. Shit. Oh man. Well, you cool down tea with cold water. Yeah, but you drink tea and, like, the water, it's a part of it. Like, tea is 90% water. You know what I mean? Ramen is like 90% noodle. I feel like I'm taking fucking crazy pills. You eat ramen when it's hot. You drink tea when it's cold. Nobody eats cold ramen. I'm losing my mind. Let's find pieces. Have I ever written about Clark? I don't think I've ever written about Clark. Okay, let's investigate Clark, because I think going from Clark to the others will eventually get us to Robin. Oh wait. Actually, okay, this? We can do, okay, I just had to, okay, we can actually just do Robin. We know the names of his sex partners. We know the names of his sex partners and possibly his children. Like, I could do, where's Robin? Robin Martin. Unless I've already done this. Yeah, I have. Private Island. Exclusive retreat, Robin's eggs. Let's just do this. Edgy jokes. Go to edgyjokes.com. A lot of jokes for the band U2. Robin Martin leans the rumors. Show up a charity function. Satisfied partner. Mid-70s. Procedure to ensure... Oh, wait a minute. I think I know how to solve this. Okay, we know from the interview with Roottrees fans, Tristan Roberts, that Guy Hudson likes to have sex to celebrate the end of a business deal. So all we need to look at is okay, this actually plays into what I talked about last time. The reason why they tell you when these various Roottrees companies are made is because it lets you order exactly which of the sex partners that he's had, right? So it's like, when did he have sex with who, right? In doing so, it then allows you to sort of say, okay, well, this was his first sex partner, second sex partner. Because the tree is like earliest to latest. So this is the way that he has sex, okay? That way, you can be like, okay, Roottrees China, it's like the first one of the year. So you go over here, he ends the business deal, and then he makes Lang Min, and then so on and so forth, and you have the other ones. But even with all the Roottrees, how many Roottrees are there? Like the Roottrees everywhere. We looked at Australia, we looked at Brazil, we looked at China, and we looked at France. We know for sure who Brazil is, we know who Australia is, we know who China is. France is interesting because he was unsuccessful. He was unsuccessful. Or was he? Because, he said he tried to convince his wife. But then she told him, so probably they didn't have sex. So, okay, so even if we go over the Roottrees everywhere, we only have 3 partners. He tried to have sex with the reporter, but I don't recall if she said anything about the sex. So she could be number 4. But who's his 5th and last sex partner? His wife? Like, his wife doesn't even like him. There's no way he's having sex with his wife. We never understood noodles. They don't fill you up and are all carbs. It's the flavor and the bounce. I think you have to look at it from less of a utilitarian perspective, and you must look at it from a human perspective of flavor. Like it's like, because noodles with the bounce and like a really good noodle, depending on how you make it, has its own unique flavor to it, right? Then combine that with the flavor of the sauces that coats the noodle, and the way that you cook the noodle can also sort of like impart a certain flavor to it too, because you can actually get the flavor to seep into it, because it's like a porous type of thing, right? Then what you have is this like form where the soup and the broth and like the sauce coats the noodle, you suck it up into it, and you have a very solid vehicle that it feels fun to chew, depending on what the noodle is like made, and also has its own flavor that complements the sauce that then fills you up. Also consider that carbs are some of the cheapest ways to fill you up, and if you need to fill yourself up in like a working world, like say agriculture, noodles and rice are very cheap ways to keep you full without having to break the bank. But you're all about utility and brutalism shitters. I'm all about utility and brutalism shitters. Okay, look, I'm just saying, listen, so were the agriculturalists. What? So were the agrarians, alright? The agrarians also were totally about utilitarian purposes, okay? They were the most utilitarian of all the people, and they recognized that carbs converts into energy. The problem is that you're a designer, you don't move. And I'm a programmer, so I don't move either, okay? So this is the pot calling the kettle black. But I'm doing this to denounce both of our privileged ways. You know what I mean? We can't understand the working world. Anyway, so guys, the worst. He approached my wife while having an affair. Interview unrelated, Tristan Roberts. Felt like the universe working things out. He had a secret child. How did he learn about the secret child? And who is his wife? Tristan Roberts. Caught. Okay, let's just go back to Roottrees France. Let's do Roottrees everywhere again. Did I get every single one? Roottrees everywhere. Canada, Mexico. Hey! Roottrees Canada. This started with 4 that I had no share in. So Roottrees Canada. Roottrees Mexico? Roottrees UK? Of course, all 3 places don't exist. In the eyes of America. Kidding, the trade wars on fuckers. I'm just kidding, sorry. Where else do I go? I don't know, what do I do? Let me read that article again. They probably had sex. You know, like they probably had sex. What information do I have on Cecily Sanchez? Everything, right? Have I ever searched her name? Cecily Sanchez. Yeah, author best known, A Portrait of a Changed Man. Oh, I never checked out her books. Portrait of a Changed Man. Cecily Sanchez. Oops. Oh god. Steam overlay. The book's description has this to say: what if everything you stand for, everything you know to be true today could disappear in an instant? All your politics, relationships gone the blink of an eye, would that still be you? Cecily Sanchez tells a powerful story, a true story about a man who woke up after being saved from drowning in his backyard pool and became an entirely different person, including interviews from those that knew him best before, as well as a one-on-one chat that paints an entirely different picture. You want to put down without wondering, what if that were me? I've only ever heard the phrase, what if that were me? Or like, I wish that was me, in reference to somebody who looks at somebody else and says, like, and they want them as their partner. Like say you watch me and I say that I'm married, and then you go, I wish that was me, right? You know what I mean? Like to imply that you want me to marry you instead, in which I'll tell you right now, no, that's never going to happen. Even if I was single or divorced for some reason, I still wouldn't do it. But that's the only time that I've ever heard that said. Foreign Gospel. Foreign Gospel tells the tale of a man from the Catholic Church who claims he was told by God that he should travel to Thailand and begin to preach. I swear I've read this before. Specifically with the goal to convert 10,000 people. He returned to the United States after just 2 years, claiming he succeeded. Yes, I do remember this. I know, right? Sure. Sure, streamer. You say that, but wait until you meet me. And then I say, okay, restraining orders on. Please leave me alone. What do I... Okay, so... Cecily Sanchez. What else do you do? The magazine immediately issued a cease and desist, pulled from bookshelves, but we have it here. Maybe I can just search Cecily Sanchez Piketty, right? Does that make sense? Piketty. Nope. Piketty. Maybe why don't we just search Piketty? Did I ever search this yet? Magazine. Yeah, I did. Okay. It's like just on tabloids. Red Bull. Red Bull gives you wings. Red Bull gives you wings. Beanie Babies. Oh god, I mean Beanie Babies. What about Piketty? Ran an article about Cecily Sanchez. Unread book about Guy Hudson. Not the main focus. Threatened legally. Yeah. Okay, so we find it. We already have it. This is it. He met him. Was just coming off a changed man. Wait. This is a book that she doesn't talk about, right? But did I not search for that? Yeah, I did. So we know that book. She must have been one of the sex partners, maybe. That was the first time anyone recognized me. They sounded great. None of the stuff that made it. Okay, this thing. Anything that like made his image go down. It was cuts at his core. Guy was not complicated. Met him on New Year's Eve. Wait a minute. New Year's Eve, last night of 1978. It's around Christmas time. Could this be Cecily Sanchez? No, I don't think this is Cecily Sanchez. Who is this? Because this is when he met the team over in Brazil. Wait, but there's nothing to say that Cecily Sanchez herself was not in Brazil. We know that during Christmas, he was there at that time with her. Doesn't look silly if you ask me. Okay, sorry. It's not a silly tattoo. Sorry. It's a cool tattoo. She's a cool person. Okay, I'm sure Cecily Sanchez is really cool. I didn't mean to like downplay her tattoo. Look, I like tattoos, okay? My wife is tatted up and she's hot as fuck. But like, you know what I mean? I say words before. I'm sorry. Please don't cancel me. That was the first time. Okay, I'm pretty sure she was there in Brazil with the two people from Brazil, which is these two, and then this is the son. I'm sure. People riot. Cancel him. Get him out of here. Anything? Okay, so At score, guy was not complicated. He could boil down to 2 traits. Want to be seen as the second coming. He'd never live a satisfied life. It's the only time. He was James Bond trying to convince people it was Mr. Rogers. He sent me this garbage book, The Roottrees Legacy, with Elias and the thing. The last time he and I met, he could even switch out his orange suits for some green ones Elias wore. Did I search this up? I think this was from the first game. Yeah, but from Bess Williams. Very few copies. It was recently replaced by the same company that published thing. They was to capitalize on Roottreemania, but it didn't work. Wait. Very few copies of the original, but it was republished, so maybe we can find it now. Eh? Oh. That's the full title, sorry. Sorry, libraries need... Oh, the Louis Decimal System. Cecilia, get it? Very good. Very, very, very funny. Very, very funny. I do like your pun. That was solid. So, we didn't get this book before, because this book was out of print when we tried to find it. But now we have it, because it was just printed out. That's interesting, because it was re-released as part of that whole thing. Okay, so Roottrees Legacy, yeah, was reprinted. He changed the suit to the green. 5 flavors. The guy knew that, but 5 flavors. Caviar was a disaster. Popular in Brazil. Roottrees, wait. In Christmas 1979, he went to Brazil to open the Roottrees Brazil factory. So, 1978 was the party. But 1979, he went to Roottrees Brazil. So, she can't be in that photo. She's not in that photo. So, who is this lady? Wait. That can't be her unless she went with them as like a personal author. Which, I mean, that's pretty baller, but at the same time, it seems kind of annoying. But at the same time, you ever see this this documentary on Netflix called Bill's Mind or something, or like Bill's Gates? I don't know. Bill's Gates, where it's like the director followed him to write a documentary on him. So she could have followed him. I had an out in my contract, so the guy signed the contract. Signed my lawyers were running it by anybody. Guy still caught the contact. Maybe she still has the contract. But I don't think the game would give us that. In fact, yes, his family wisely put a stop to it. Mid-1981. What? 1978, 1979 was a Christmas party. We know Roottrees Brazil was started in 1979. Right? Roottrees Brazil, 1979, after a visit in 1979. Right? This all makes sense. So, okay, where are you? Where are you? Cecily Sanchez, were you here? You know what this game is missing? A search function. That's all this game needs to be a 10 out of 10 to me. Right now, it's a 9.9 out of 10. But you don't understand. Like in the patch notes, I'm not kidding you. Read the patch notes for this game, okay? You can now add up to 20 pages in your notebook. It turns out some of our players are absolutely sickos for note-taking, and I wanted to enable that behavior. Well, guess what? I'm an absolute sicko for the Dewey Decimal System, alright? Please give me a search bar. I'm begging you. Please, I need a search bar. Where is Cecily Sanchez? I've lost her. Oh no, I've lost her. Cecily! Cecily! She's dead! Cecily, are you here? Please, Cecily Sanchez, please. I'm begging you. Where are you? Photo? Why did he say photo? For sure, Guy Hudson, lady in the back could be his wife. I don't think that's his wife. Well, what does his wife even look like? We don't know what his wife looked like. Patricia Jones. Maybe we can find her, actually. Maybe do, I don't know. Patricia Jones. Also, Roottrees caviar. 5 pieces caviar. Page hasn't been updated. Okay. So, okay. This note I need to update. So this, I don't think that's his wife. Lady in the back could be his wife, has a tattoo of a flower. Lady in the back could be Cecily Sanchez with the flower tattoo. Wait a minute. Girl with the flower tattoo. Wait, no. Woman with the flower tattoo. Girl with the dragon tattoo. I see what you're doing. Photo 1. Celebration between Zach and some other lady behind him, which we don't really know. Wait a minute. That lady. That shirt. that haircut. I was thinking to myself, maybe we could match it by the photo of someone that we know, but I don't think you can look at the photo, so kind of hard to tell. Yeah, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. So, okay, where's Cecily Sanchez then? I swear I had notes on her, no? Here we go. Him and Brenda, nope, matter, she's dead. Why did I say she's dead? She's not dead, she's alive! What? Oh, sorry. Sorry. This is for Carl. This is a note for Carl. Sorry, she's not dead. That's for Carl. Oops. I was like, wait, she's dead. I don't know why I wrote that. I was like, holy shit, she's dead. It belongs in Carl. With the Kristen Valdez, which we have to find at some point. She's alive. Okay, so Cecily, Sisley is alive. Miss Sanchez is still alive. Author of the portrait, Changed Man, came out in 1979. Huh? Wait. Released in 1979, Portrait of a Changed Man. What? The last night of 1979, I was just coming off of Changed Man and looking for my next project. I guess not that Changed Man was published, but that she finished writing it and editing it, and thus it was being prepared for publishing. Because otherwise this doesn't make sense. Because Changed Man would have been done right at the tail end of 1978. And then maybe released if it did include the publishing date. But then this other information site of hers says it released in 1979. So, what? Foreign Gospel 1984. Is Cecily alive? She might be alive. She might be a little silly. Okay, the Portrait of Van Gogh is not the thing. So, commissioned the right article, yeah. Also wrote something. Discovered a guy in his Hudson. Why am I writing the... Why am I looking for her again? What was the context of this? Caviar was a disaster. Oh, right. Met guy in 1978 at New Year's Eve party. So this is very important to know because it does somewhat place her timeline was. So that's when she met him. Garbage book. In Christmas 1979, he went to Brazil to open a Roottrees family, hopping around the world. Okay. But did she follow him? If she followed him, then we know that she's in the back. If I had to guess, mid-1989, months after I'd already moved on from it, showed me a final draft. You know how expensive it is to publish one copy of a book? Had my name on it, shiny embossed leather. He's like all problems in life, tried to throw money at it. Half the page count, the narrative was thrown to bits. The dinner was good, important steak that likely cost as much as a month of my mortgage. And we all got pretty drunk. He sent his mistress, Susie something. Susie? Wait a minute. His mistress, Susie? I actually skimmed over this line. I didn't think about this. Two things, right? Imported steak means that you can buy steak from anywhere. And I'm going to tell you something. Steak in certain places does taste better, okay? However, in Brazil, you can probably get like picanha. And so I don't know why you would want any other steak. So she was not in Brazil at this time. Because Brazilians, they make a mean picanha. That shit is good. So there's no way that he would import a picanha when he can just have a nice picanha there, okay? I feel like that's the best steak in the world. So, why would you do this? So, this at least places her in a different timeline. So this is a whole different place. This can't be traced down into, because it's also mid-1981 to the Christmas party. But this does reveal that he has a Susie mistress. Has a mistress named Susie something. Susie something. Okay, so Susie something. Mistress named Susie something. Okay, this is huge. This is the fifth sex. Wait, this actually translates into 5 sexes. Think about it. As told by Cecily. What can we infer? Had sex with Robin Martin, 1. Had sex with Lang Xin Yu, 2, to make Lang Min, okay? Had sex with Brazil, something Suarez. I think it's Sonia Suarez, right? To make that famous kid. That's 3, okay? Had sex with his wife. Actually, no, I don't think he had sex with his wife because his wife didn't like him. So maybe not. But at least Number 4, we know for sure is his mistress Susie. Number 5 could be Cecily. We know we have at least 4. Fifth partner could be Cecily. So okay, so why does Escape do that? Okay, so had sex. Theory had sex with Robin Martin, Lang Xin Yu, resulting in Lang Min / Lucy Lang. Presumably no child because she had procedure to not have children. Lang Xin Yu. Sonia Suarez, which led to that stupid kid. To that stupid kid, to yet another stupid to let another I hate children, to let another child. Mistress Susie something, but who is the 5th? Could be Cecily. Poor girl, I remembered her from our trips overseas. She was too good for him. Anyways, he died soon after, and that was the last that ever came up. Oh, there was probably a new edition of this journal from Lauren as well. I haven't actually read it. I just skimmed the sections on Guy. Wait. Any insight into the recent scandals from the recent book by Sam Madsen, Samantha? I just skimmed the sections on Guy to see why people were suddenly calling me up to ask about the man. So the book by Samantha Madsen has information on Guy. So okay, so we can have a book by Samantha Madsen has information about Guy. Our Guy we can learn more about our Guy from Samantha. We can learn more about our Guy from Samantha. Who's our Guy? Guy. Who knows about the Guy? Samantha. Guy. If your parents name you like your first name is the last name, or your last name is the first name, or your name is like a generic term for like a group of people or like a type of person, I'm sorry for you. You're allowed to be mad. You're allowed to sort of like wish for a different life and, want to be different. You're allowed to change your name. You actually can. In most places, you can actually just go and pay money to get your name changed. It's actually surprisingly cheap. I've looked into this. So okay, so could be sex with Cecily, but I don't think that's true. But the book from Sam Madsen will probably tell us. I'd say she did well for she did. She learned the rumors where I spent time channeling. Sometimes he knew, sometimes he didn't. He invited me to join them when dealing with Roottrees Brazil. So she was there, but I actually had people on him when he went to Australia, France, and China too. So he invited her to join them when dealing with Roottrees Brazil, which means that is her. So this, in the photo, this is Cecily Sanchez. Yeah. So that's for sure Cecily Sanchez. Definitely Cecily Sanchez, because she talks about how she was invited with him to the Brazil deal. The Brazil deal sounds like the type of thing that you would say prior to like a G8 summit. Like it just feels like the type of topic that would come at like a G8 summit or like a UN meeting, but it's for candy. The Brazil deal. It's just fucking candy. Okay, we have this. I need to get the exact quote so I can like save it. So highlight this for later. With the Roottrees Brazil, highlight that. So these two, okay, well, listen, man, that's really messed up. So Susie, thank you, YouTube commenter, for telling me about this feature. You don't understand. If that YouTube commenter never told me about this feature, we would have gone our entire lives copy pasting different things and copy pasting everything into one single note in order to try and deal with this. I would go insane. God, sometimes the YouTubers come in clutch, right? Sometimes the YouTube comments, because like the live, this is the thing, okay? Live chat, live Twitch chat burdens me. They hurt me, like emotionally and mentally, with programming questions. They go, "What do you think about Rust?" And it's like, okay, here comes another 2-hour rant. All right, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. Okay, I'm like an AI that gets activated from a certain phrase. The YouTube commenters, they're so much better. Sometimes they flame me and they say Infinity Nikki was made for China, and like you're an idiot. You just ramble when you walk through like a art gallery. But sometimes they go, "Did you know there's a button to reorder your notes?" And I go, "Brilliant! Thank you." Caught Russ. Okay, so she tailed him when he went everywhere. Australia, France, China. When he met with someone, I figured out who they were and how they were involved. Doubly so if the meeting happened when he didn't want me to be around. Despite his best efforts, I got the whole truth, even things his family never knew. For example, him and Robin spent nights together. So yeah, he and she definitely spent a few nights together. So, okay, him and Robin did have sex. This is a guarantee that he had sex with Robin. Fucked Robin. Silly. You know what he said to Robin? "Do you know why people love the 5 pieces candy?" And she goes, "Why?" And he goes, "'Cause we fill it with maple syrup." And she goes, "But you're American." You know, like, it's a pickup line that only works if he's a Canadian candy baron, right? If he's a Canadian chocolate baron, then it works. But because he's an American chocolate baron, it just doesn't really work. Oh, what a great game. So Matson got things wrong. Sam mentions Guy's affairs and treats him like most people would logically treat him. Like, the infidelity was a problem for Patricia. When his wife first approached me, though, it wasn't to talk, if you get my meaning. On paper in public, it was a marriage like any other. In reality, it was more of a mutually beneficial arrangement. This is also very important to know. Ooh, I love when my notes become awful. Reality was more of a mutually beneficial arrangement. There we go. Good to have this here. This one article, honestly, now that I'm going back to read it more carefully, it's actually good. I think it was too focused on certain specific details, but this really does have very, very solid details. They both got what they want out of the same thing, which means, is Cecily lesbian? Maybe Cecily is lesbian. I don't know. Patricia enjoyed the company of women, and the swinger scene made it more accessible. I told her I wasn't interested in her and Guy. No, but this is the thing. I don't think Cecily had sex with him. If I had said yes, her next question would have been whether or not her husband actually had to be there too. Guy and the other one seen the nature of the marriage. At the same time, Betty and William found charming. I can assure you that was exactly the type of marriage he was interested in. Okay, so this kind of tells us something. We need to find out about his mistress. So Samantha Madsen has the book. 6 pieces. Did I even read this? Reviews were mixed. How did I know about this? Reviews probably poisoned because the shit-talking tone. Right. Released before Clark was appointed El Presidente. So we never read this book. I just took this at face value and said I'll deal with it later. And I never dealt with it later. There we go. Yeah, here we go. Sam Madsen's book was released earlier this year. It details the truth about the lives of Roottrees, while Sam's fathers, Edward Clancy, Roottree, and John Miller. You have to verify her story, so much of the book's core contents are familiar to you. That said, Sam had some sections on other family secrets and rumors. Much of it didn't matter to the primary purpose of the book, and some of it is new to you and may be important to your new search. These sections have been added to your notes, the most important one being Guy. How much pussy did Guy slay? First off, Family Man by Bess Williams, the reprint copy that we now have a copy of. The dictionary defines propaganda as information, especially of a biased or misleading nature, used to promote or publicize a particular political cause or point of view. Sure. Yes. Why did it give me this? I know what propaganda is. But if they were to replace that... Oh, sorry. I just kept reading. I was like, why is there a dictionary definition there? But if they were to replace that definition with a picture, it'd be a picture of this book. Very nice. As with all things in life, continue reading to know more, right? The book tells you nothing new about Elias, and from what you know of his true feelings towards some of his extended family, you're not sure it tells you anything true about Elias either. The reissue was so lazy that they reused the famous photo of Elias from Business Watch, whose copyright has expired. The best thing it has going for it is that it's only 85 pages long. first affair with his father. With his grandfather. Sorry, I just wanted to do that. That's her father. 6 pieces, yeah. Sam's book has a few different passages about her own history with the company, and the rumors and gossip she collected during that tenure. She ran the farm for a period starting around 1968, after the death of Elias Roottrees, until her daughter Gwyneth took over in 1984. Most of the relevant rumors coincide with the reign of Guy Hudson, who took over as president in 1978. Sam was very much not a fan of Guy, and according to 6 pieces, it was an open secret within the family that Guy was very much not a fan of remaining faithful to his wife, Patricia. Yep, here we go. Many of their hires at the time were young, single women, and Guy often spent a lavish amount of money on private parties. This is still absurd to me that people do this, okay? Because I know that this happens. If you're gonna cheat on your partner, why cheat on your partner with your employees, right? But also, like, why do it at all? So question number 1 is why do it at all? But if you're gonna do it, why do it with your employees of all people? But if it's not cheating, and you want to hide the fact that your marriage is like a fake marriage, why do it with the employees when you can just go with strangers, right? Like it's almost nonsensical the way that like a lot of the time it's about easy access, if that makes sense. Like it's like I feel like it's probably like there's probably some psychology behind it where it's about the ease of the thing that like leads to the thrill of it versus necessarily the actual logistics of it and like the ways that you could do it in a smarter way, right? I don't know. That was 20 years ago, and Sam's warns that most of it is hearsay. Still, you find the following information that may be relevant. One of Sam's farm supervisors was named Elizabeth. Elizabeth had a daughter, who Sam never met, but who worked as one of Guy's secretaries. According to Elizabeth, a caterer from a local restaurant, Antonellis, met her daughter at one of Guy's parties, and they eloped quickly due to a pregnancy. What? Elizabeth had a daughter who Sam never met but was a Guy's secretary. A caterer from Antonellis met Elizabeth's daughter, who was Guy's secretary, and they eloped due to a pregnancy. Elizabeth wasn't aware that the party was for swingers. Rumor has it that her daughter showed up with a guy and didn't seem comfortable switching partners. But maybe she did because now she's pregnant. That's the other thing too, is like I don't get the like there's a swinging that I'm sure is actually like good and safe where it's like you just have sex and there's no pregnancy, right? But if you swing to get people pregnant, isn't that also irresponsible in a way? Because then it's like how do you deal with like the amount of children being born? Who takes care of what? Like I don't know if you should bring children into that mix. Or like, you know what I mean? Like it just doesn't really feel it's the world already has too many people. Should you be nutting in everybody to get them pregnant? You know what I mean? That's my main gripe with it, is that we have too many people as is. Guy's main positive contribution to the company involved expanding to markets previously untapped by Roottrees. However, when he went on trips overseas, they were often for weeks at a time, and Guy was known for spending more time and money on unofficial business than meetings with distributors and manufacturers. He was said to bribe at least one politician to open a factory in Brazil. So I was correct on the bribery. There is also a section where Sam speculates that Elias may have also cheated on Gwyneth. Gwyneth was always much kinder to Sam than Elias was, and was the first to invite Sam to family events. So, I don't think it's because... So, my theory was that Gwyneth was nicer to Sam, not because of the cheating, but because she felt like them ostracizing EC, Edward Clancy, didn't make any sense. And she was like, that's my child, while you ostracizing him. And she was probably already sort of like angry at the fact that she had to give away the family farm to Elias. Because she was a woman. She wasn't allowed to keep the farm, and she had to be a housewife. So that was my thinking. But this introduces an interesting angle of cheating. And I'm curious what led to this. Because then it's like, do you discard what I'm thinking about? Which is like, Gwyneth has a morality to it? But at the same time, what Gwyneth said about EC and how Gwyneth sort of explained to Elias the fact that Sam is getting a pittance by having to work at the farm makes it feel like it was more of a like her real person. Like it's hard to tell if that's what she actually felt or if she just said that to appease Elias to throw him off the trail, if that makes sense. While she has no hard evidence, Sam always got the impression that Gwyn was able to coerce Elias into allowing Sam back into the family, using some kind of leverage, instead of it being a natural course of events. She mentioned that Elias and Gwyn were known to loudly argue, sometimes about another woman. Sam also says her son Ernie once asked her, "Who's Beth?" because he overheard them yelling about someone with that name. As far as Sam knows, Elias once had a secretary named Elizabeth, a different Elizabeth than the supervisor from the farm, but she never met her. That's a lot of information. Elizabeth. Who's Beth? Elizabeth. Different from the supervisor at the farm, but never met her. Sam Madsen speculates Elias cheated on Gwyneth, and that was the leverage to get Sam back in the family. Sam's son asked who Beth, and Elias did have a secretary named Elizabeth, who is different from the farm supervisor Elizabeth. You know, this is why I tell my wife, like, if I ever make a company, my wife is my secretary, so I can dick her down on the daily. I'm just kidding. You know, like, it's like, I don't know, it's kind of cool to work with your wife, and then it's like, you know, you play into the vibe of, like, it's your secretary. It's like, haha, you know what I mean? Not because I want to dick her down daily, like I do, but, like, it's not because she's my secretary. It's a whole different thing, you know what I mean? Guys, okay, here we go. One of the farm supervisors, yeah, boom, right there. And I'm gonna do this. Farm supervisors was named Elizabeth. Mentions a farm supervisor named Elizabeth who has a daughter that worked as Guy's secretary, who eventually eloped with a caterer due to pregnancy and was supposedly uncomfortable swinging. I mean, swinging does feel like a very uncomfortable thing to try if it's like your first thing to do. Like, it's like, because you go from the partner that you know and from that safety that you have with your partner into another person who's about to stick their dick inside of you, or that you're about to stick your dick inside of. And it's kind of scary to like do that, because it's like, what do you even know about them? If you're an emotional person, maybe it doesn't feel good and doesn't feel safe. You have to go sleep? No worries, Chad. Thanks for showing up today for the Valentine's Day chat date, basically. Again, it's your one day to be parasocial, and none of you have been, which means I've successfully mind controlled all of you to no longer care about parasocialism. I'm a goddamn genius. Yeah, swinging definitely does feel a little scary, so I don't blame her daughter. But caterer was from a restaurant named Antonellis. This does, at least within this realm, allow us to find information about more of Guy's sexcapades, and it may be that this Antonellis and this Elizabeth daughter could be the first sex of the 5 sexes. Like, we may end off today's playthrough with at least one sex, or we may end off today with all 5 sexes. Okay, we do Antonellis. So we look for Antonellis. Antonellis. There are a large number of Antonellis restaurants, not because it's a chain, just because it seems to be a common name for Italian restaurants. You may need to use a more local resource if you're looking for one specific one, and that is in Butler County. So we have the Butler County Times. Antonellis is an Italian restaurant. It has been in the Butler County Times twice. The most recent time was when it closed in 1992. The owner, Rachel Zimmer, sold the land that the building was on at the time of the article. She was unsure if the restaurant would move to a new location or she would retire. Many years before that, There's a puff piece from Valentine's Day 1978 that asked recently married residents of Butler County how they met. 1978, Valentine's Day, February of 1978, is before the New Year's Eve party when Cecily Sanchez met Guy, and before Guy Hudson went over to Brazil to have sex. Christine Garland responded. She and her husband Steve, who was a chef at Antonello's, met years ago when she delivered produce from her mother's farm. Here we go. Supervisor at the farm, Elizabeth. Christine Garland, the child. So Elizabeth Garland, Christine Garland. Or maybe it's Steve Garland. I don't really know. She used to work extra hours just to be there during her deliveries. Although they grew apart when their restaurant switched suppliers, they reconnected by chance and eloped at the end of last year. Now she has a bun in the oven and they're both working as much as they can. She's a secretary, but went back to delivering produce on the weekends, trying to save up money to move to Boston and open their own restaurant. First off, who is Rochelle Zimmer, just in case? Cool, doesn't matter. But well, I mean, we don't even need anything. We know this. So, okay, this is huge. This is great. So, Christine Garland is the name of the person from the farm supervisor, Elizabeth, who was Guy's secretary and presumably was nutted in during the swinger party, was already pregnant and married and had already eloped by Valentine's Day 1978, placing her before Roottrees, Brazil, and before even Cecily Sanchez enters the picture. Her husband is Steve Garland, presumably. Her actual last name unknown. Or maybe her last name, or maybe she's Nay Garland, like the Final Fantasy villain. Okay. I think we have enough to basically place all of the 5 sexes. Because with this person, if we say that Cecily Sanchez is not number 5, then we know for sure who is number 5. Like, we have number 5 in this person. I think we're done. So, I think this is it. We have all 5 if I look back at who this person was. So, where's Guy Hudson? Guy Hudson. Susie something. Guy Hudson. Yeah. There we go. Right here. We say, Christine Garland responded. Okay, we solved the 5 sexes. We all finish stream because I don't want to. I've been hurt by talking about programming, so we say this is it. So we now have 5. So Robin Martin, Lang Xin Yu, Sonia Suarez, Mistress Susie, Christine Garland. 5. How do I find Susie? Suzanne? Susie. Suzanne? Maybe it's like Suzanne. How do I find Susie? FYI to Canadians, tomorrow's the last day to get a rotisserie chicken from Costco tax-free. Thank you for reminding me, but I've been trying to finish this rotisserie chicken for 3 days, so I don't want another rotisserie chicken. But welcome back, Mod. How was your birthday? Did you get to go eat yet? Wait, was today when you were going to go eat like all you can eat something? Chicken, sushi or something? So full. What'd you eat? And happy birthday again, Mod. That's nice to see you. You're about to witness history. We've just discovered the 5 sexes. You ate 20 shrimps from Hot Pot. Okay, but was it like the weak shrimp? Or was it like the Thai shrimp? Like those massive ass shrimp that are like the size of your hand? How large is your hand? Like that the size of my hand. Where it's like, a couple inches tall. Like, and they taste so sweet. Like, was it those shrimp? Like tiger shrimp or whatever it's called? Or was it the weak, like, Olive Garden shrimp, where it's like tiny? Or like a shrimp, or like Mandarin shrimp salad small, Because 20 shrimp at that size is pretty good. It was big. Okay, do you Chat, how do you all eat shrimp? Do you do shell on or shell off? There's only one answer that's correct for cooking. You should always cook shrimp with shell on. But when you eat the shrimp, do you eat with shell on or shell off? And maybe that depends on how you cook it too. Because if you cook it like you fry it, you can bite the shell. But if you boil it, the shell's still kind of hard. But let's assume that you can eat it with the shell. Then would you eat it shell on or shell off? I'm a shell off kind of guy. Except for the head. But the problem with the head is that all the shrimp have like spikes on them. So what I'd like to do is I like to like break off the spikes, like the horns, and then I just eat the head whole to get like the like roe, right? Like the shrimp brain, and it tastes nice. And then the meat I just eat without the shell because I don't want to chew in shell for 5 hours. it takes a long time. Who is Susie? Now we just need to place timeline. So for sure she's first. I don't have a photo of her though. I need to get a photo of. How do I get a photo of this person? Of the Antonellis person? Oh, I can just search her name, Christine Garland. Steve Garland. You know, your mom randomly bought shrimps a few days ago and asked her, look, how they're supposed to be cooked. You've no idea how those things work still. You talk about it like the way that you said that feels like you're talking about the mechanics of a screwdriver. You just cook them. It's like any other meat. The key is that they must churn red. So when you get shrimp, they're gray, okay? They're lifeless. They don't look good. But when you cook them, they churn red, and they churn like a nice, fluffy, sort of like white inner color that's very like clean and very tasty, okay? Sauces usually stay in the shell, but if you cook it without the shell, it might change the color too. But ideally, it should no longer feel soft and mushy when you, say, press into it too. It just feels kind of like, not firm, but like fluffy. It should feel fluffy with a bounce. That's a good perfect shrimp. The color should change like a nice with like the red skin on the outside. And honestly, if you cook shrimp too, you have to cut the back to get the poop string out. So if you don't know, shrimps do not have an intestine like humans do. Their intestine runs along their entire back. Unlike a human, it doesn't zigzag or swirl. It's the whole thing in a straight line. So you cut the back of the shrimp with a knife and you pull out the poop string. If you leave it in, you can eat it, but it's very sandy and it tastes like poop. So, you know, it's up to you. And the trick too, if you want to pull it out from the tail as well, get it down as close as you can, and then yank it from the tail at a certain angle to get it out of the tail as well. Otherwise, you get poop stuck inside the tail, okay? Then you cook it, and then you just... If you want to preserve the meat inside of the tail when you deshell it, you have to pinch the tip of the tail of like both tails, and you just pull on it, and the meat that's inside the tail will basically stay on. Basically, shrimp is the easiest way to get like a near 100% meat yield. The only hard part, I don't think you can save the meat from the legs if there's any in the side of them. I've never been able to. So you just assume that the legs have no meat, but otherwise you will get like a nice, like whole piece of meat there. It's good. Hey Mod, we should go eating someday. You just take us to go hot pot. Take me and my wife to go hot pot. You, your boyfriend, me, my wife. We just take over all the shrimp and we just eat as many shrimp as we can. I'm a shrimp master. I know what shrimp is like. Christine Garland. She is now a secretary. She's married to Steve Garland. Wait, Steven Garland? Antonelli's. Maybe Antonelli's isn't here too. Antonelli's. No, Antonelli's. Butler County Times, Antonellis. Yeah, Steve used to work extra hours to be there. This is February 1978. Rochelle Zimmer. Oh. Rochelle and her husband Mark Zimmer have a few mentions in the Butler County Times. Both were local business owners. Rochelle owned Antonellis, an Italian restaurant, and Mark owned a local bookstore called Bookmarks. Hey, that is a sick name for a bookstore. Holy shit, Bookmarks? That's amazing. Both closed in 1992. But Mark was also mentioned once in the Butler County Times when he was sued by Steve Garland. Whoa! We have some serious information here. What the fuck? Hey, this is some. I thought Rochelle Zimmer was done, but no, there's some serious stuff here. Where is Butler County located? Pennsylvania. Okay, so something's wrong with Pennsylvania. Okay, so this is for all the Pennsylvania locals who just are there, okay? I know that the game creator just chose Butler County so as to not offend anybody, but I'm going to offend the Pennsylvanians. I can say this because I have family in Pennsylvania. Therefore, I'm related enough that I can make fun of them. Alright, so something's wrong with Pennsylvania. Something's wrong with the Pennsylvania here. So, owned Antonelli's, where Christine Garland worked, was Mike Zimmer was sued by Stephen Garland, Christine's husband. The cat caught her 5th or 6th pigeon yesterday or something. Your mom said it smells kind of nice, and grandma's contemplating if we can eat them too. The only problem is that there doesn't seem to be any more pigeons flying around. Yeah, because your cat is catching them. Like pigeons are stupid, but they do recognize when their pigeons are like dying. Pigeons do recognize when their fellow pigeons are dying. So they are starting to be wary of your cat. But you can eat them. But I would not recommend eating wild pigeon. It's very, very risky. The only safe pigeon that I did more research about it. Because wild pigeon, you don't really know what's in there, and they're no longer bred for a certain hardiness, nor are they checked for any diseases. It's much more risky than it used to be. Because back when we used to farm pigeons to eat, it was a lot safer because we took care of them. And thus dealt with so like, it's like, we raise the animal, in exchange you get to live, but we have to deal with it's like, it's in exchange for living and becoming food when we want you to like become food, you're free of disease. That's the trade-off. When you're in the wild, you have no guarantee. Okay, so the Zimmers, Butler County Times. So then we do Mark Zimmer, sued by Steve Garland. Here we go. Steve Garland is mentioned in a couple of articles. Here we go. Highlights: sued Mark Zimmer, married to Christine Garland. Avord, Pennsylvania. There we go, it's even better. The second, okay, mentioned in a couple of articles. The first is an article about how he met his wife Christine when he worked at Antonelli's. The second is from months later in September of 1978. September being, yeah, that's like way after the Valentine's, but before the New Year's Eve party. A listing for his weekend cooking classes, Gourmet for the Groovy. The blurb mentions that he's been giving lessons from his home kitchen for the last month so he can keep an eye on his son. So so they've already had sex at this point. Like Christine Garland she's already had the nut from Guy Hudson infect her, basically. The third was from 1991 and is titled Local Author Sued by Former Butler County Resident. It seems that a local author by the name of Mike Zimmer was sued by Garland. Wait, it reminded me to do this. Oops. Owned bookstore called Bookmarks. Best name ever, but that's very important to know. Okay, go back forward. Okay, was sued by Garland after Garland saw Zimmer promoting his book Kitchen Tales on television. His recipe book was partially plagiarized from the recipes that Steve Garland would give his students during his cooking lessons before he moved. Okay, that's interesting. Runs cooking classes called Gourmet for the Groovy from home to watch over son, which implies that Guy Hudson had already infected his wife with pregnancy. So, but by this point, in September of 1978. In September of 1978. I like to talk about pregnancy like it's an infection because it's 10 times funnier to me. There we go. Sued Mark in 1991 over plagiarism because of content in his book involving recipes he would teach. So, wrote a book called Kitchen Tales that involved recipes supposedly stolen from Steve. This town is a bit like this one section of my friend groups when they like where they grew up. My friend group grew up again. It's like a massive friend group. They all grew up in the same area, and we say that they're like incestuous because they all had sex with each other at least once. Like growing up, they all had sex with each other because they just went into relationships with each other, left, and then they would like have a different partner. And it's like everybody in that group had like a relationship with somebody else. It's like it's the same thing but for an entire county. Like I'm talking about on a neighborhood level, a neighborhood full of apartments and like, you know, townhomes. All right, this is happening all across Butler County. It's like an incestuous sex pool of sex. The article mentions that although his recipes are hard to copyright, Garland accompanied each recipe with a short fiction about how he learned it. These usually doubled as a way to remember certain ingredients. Garland's bean salad, for example, involved making a trade with a gnome for some magic beans. Apparently, these stories were found word for word in Zimmer's cookbook, in addition to additional stories that follow the same format. Okay, so we have a couple things. Gourmet for the groovy. No! I don't want hints. I'm a detective, I don't need hints. I work for my money. I don't just go live on stream to beg for subscriptions. I give entertainment. I talk about Rust for hours. I give you booba. I work for my money. Gourmet for the groovy. Oh, I forgot to write down the name of the book. Oops. Kitchen Tales. Did I? No, I did write it down. Okay, yes, it's what Kitchen Tales. Here we go. Was a story-based recipe book credited to Mike Zimmer that had some success after it was featured on a morning talk show. The book released before the internet was widespread, so mentions are rare. One book collector states that the publishers were unprepared for the demand, and there was no second printing, so it's unusual to find a copy in the wild. You find an alternative medicine website, which focuses on cooking with natural ingredients. It mentions that one of Kitchen Tales' recipes used salt water. The owner of the site has included a standard of the recipe which is added to your evidence. She says, if you switch out the salt water in the recipe for a mix of 2/3 spring water and 1/3 filtered seawater, it tastes great. So true, this is the usual way that recipe books go. Like, you'll have people who go to a recipe site, wing all the ratios, and then they write a review of 1 out of 5 stars, and they say, doesn't taste anything like a shepherd's pie, and I didn't read the recipe, and I used entirely different ingredients, and you asked for ground beef, but I used, like, grass. But seriously, I thought this recipe would taste better, and then the author of the recipe goes, are you stupid? Like, why did you not do anything correctly? The book by Mark Zimmer. I should probably check this out on the... maybe it's here. Yeah, full title, Mike Zimmerman's Kitchen Tales. Mike Zimmer's Kitchen Tales. The entire description of this book, according to the library system, is a recipe that contains stories. Re-release as Garnishing the Truth. What the fuck? Hey. Wait a minute. Garnishing the Truth. How do I find this? Re-released as Garnishing the Truth. Okay. Is a cookbook credited to Garland and Zimmer. Steve Garland and Mark Zimmer. Released in 1994. Credited to both Steve Garland and Mark Zimmer. Okay, I have a whole new headcanon theory. They sued each other. They then went to a swinger party after 1991. They then had sex with each other's wives. So Mike Zimmer had sex with Christine. Steve had sex with Rochelle. And then they come home best friends. That's why they now co-host the book. Do appear to promote it on a daytime talk show. There have been multiple printings since. According to a book review, the recipes are accompanied by stories that help the reader remember the ingredients. The reviewer says that it seems perfect for learning to cook with the entire family. Garland and Zimmer, Garnishing the Truth. That is honestly a great name. Garnishing the truth. The introduction of this book is a series of acknowledgements from Steve. The first is, Christine, thank you for everything. Your support means the world to me. You're the apple of my eye. The second is to James and Robert. You're becoming amazing men and incredible chefs. I guess I'm a good teacher. The final is of Mark Zimmer. You proved my storytelling approach to recipes could be popular. Without you, this book couldn't exist. By the way, I sued you. Don't try it again, or I will sue you into the dirt. Presumably, James and Robert are their sons. So, sons are presumably named James and Robert Garland. You're becoming amazing men. How would he know that they're becoming amazing men? Because it's like, the only way that you know if they're becoming amazing men if you knew that they weren't amazing men before. Like, you had to have known their past to know that they're now becoming amazing men, right? Or that they had nothing at all. They weren't bad, but they weren't good. So you have to have a frame of reference to know who somebody is becoming. And the best frame of reference for you is usually your parents, unless they hate you. Which is a very common thing. There's also a foreword by Mark Zimmer. I first met Steve in 1978 when he taught a cooking class. The next time I saw him was over a decade later when he was suing me for stealing his recipes. Yes, really. So you might wonder what I'm doing in this introduction. Well, it turns out that Steve and I had more in common than we thought. I knew it. They did have sex with each other's wives. Christine is being used as a sex sword. But she also is hesitant about swinging, so that's kind of fucked up, right? Instead of settling in court, we settled it at McCarran's brew house over a game of darts. They said they'd give us the first drink of the night free for an entire year for mentioning them. Only a year? Really? Like, this kind of sucks. We'll read that later. So this is important. They settled their differences at theory. They swung. Theory is that they swung. By the end of the game, he and I agreed we'd both rather make a ton of money together than spend a ton of money on lawyers. It's pretty rare to meet your best friend so late in life. But when I decided to retire, I moved to Boston just so we could hang out. So if you're browsing this book in a bookstore, please buy our book. We need more money for when the free beer runs out, and the bookstore could probably use that sale. So true. Hey, you want to subscribe to my stream? I'm just kidding. If I ever start to say that, by the way, please leave me. If I ever start to say, hey, please subscribe to my stream, please leave me. If I say that seriously. Like, I would look down on myself if I did that. McCarran's Brew House is a pub in Boston. They have a website. Apparently the bar has been around for a long time. On the site, there's a list of famous people that have had a drink there, including former President of the United States, not of the Roottrees Company, Kennedy. What? Kennedy? Wait. JFK, 1991. No, JFK died in 1963. What other president was named Kennedy? What Kennedy is there? I don't know. I'm Canadian. I don't give a shit. One of them is garnishing the truth. Which the site has this to say about. Local and regular Stevie G wrote a book about food. We prefer cocktails, but they have a shout, and we ain't gonna say no to free press. So go grab a bite at this kid's joint, fry die, and then swing by the meeting for a drink. Yo, this is a good chain of information. Stevie G, anything cool? No, but we have his kid's joint, fry die. Okay, good. McCarran's Brew House got a shout out in a cookbook. Had JFK after he died. Eat there. Let's just assume that's JFK for the sake of a mystery. Let's go to Friday. Wrong highlights. I didn't mean to highlight. I meant to search. Why does it say search periodicals? Can I turn that off? I don't want that thing. Oh yeah, I forgot. There's a new feature too. You can turn off the intuition. There we go. Like, now I feel like a real detective. You know what I mean? This is how you should play the game. This is the way that you should be playing the game. You should be playing the game. Yes. I'm old. I'm very old. Don't mind me. It's been small. This is better, actually. This is better. For me, it's better. Fried Eye is a fairly popular restaurant in Boston. Yeah, here we go. They don't have a website, but many locals seem to mention them in various places. So, restaurant of Steve Garland's sons. Presumably owned by... I can find this out now, actually. They don't have a website, but many locals seem to mention them in various places. One more in-depth review explains that it's not a full restaurant, just a front door and a very small interior with a window. Unusually, the restaurant only serves vegetables, but a lot of reviews say that in spite of that, it's delicious. Yes, because they probably cook the vegetables too. You find a short story about it listed on a website called My Boston Homepage. Whoever runs the page seems to link to random sites related to Boston. All personal anecdotes tell personal anecdotes related to Boston, and give their relatively short opinions on things in Boston. It's very unorganized, and actually does remind me of like people who are from Boston. Like people who are from Boston love to say that they're from Boston. It has this to say about Fried Eye: wicked overrated. I saw it in Chef's Signature, so I went there, and there was a huge line, and they didn't have a single meat dish. What's the point? Only serves veggies, presumably cooked. As seen on Chef's Signature. Maybe a show? Maybe a... What is this? I'm assuming that's a new periodical. A website linked to by another site called My Boston Homepage. Like, how narcissistical do you have to be to say this is the site? Like, if I opened the website and I called it the Canadian Homepage, I think the government would have an aneurysm. They'd be like, what the fuck do you mean, buddy? We already have Canada.gov. Or, like, Canada.ca, sorry. Actually, what's that thing? I'm pretty sure it's .ca, right? Canada.ca. Yeah, Canada.ca. My Boston Homepage is run by somebody with eclectic tastes. Talks about Boston. The most recent thing to receive a wicked awful was an antique store called Bayer's Things. Apparently the owner, Beatrice, is not very friendly. The most recent establishment to receive a wicked is a comic store in Cambridge called the Million Year Picnic. As far as you can tell, nothing besides Fried Eye seems to be connected to your search in any way. Well, maybe not. Rated Fried Eye. Bayer's Things, owned by Beatrice. And the Million Year Picnic. Okay, so I want to search those too, but let's go back first. Let's do this. Chef's Signature. What's this? This is presumably a periodical magazine. Woo! Wicked, sick, nasty. Beer's Things is an antique store located in Boston. The owner's name is Beatrice, and the store name appears to be a somewhat awkward attempt at a bee stings pun. Oh, like a busy bee? Like you're the bee's knees. This is supported by what can only be described as a swarm of bee-related imagery and puns on their website. The logo has a pastel yellow and black striped theme, with clip art insects all over it. Oh, that's so good. I love clip art. Clip art as a genre, I'm sad that it died. I understand why, because it sucked, but still, it pains me to know that it's gone. It mentions that all of Boston is buzzing for beers. There's even a listing for a vintage armoire that mentions there's plenty of room for all of your yellow jackets in it. At the bottom it states, fly on down, honey, and make a deal with Beelzebub. Nothing here appears to be relevant to your search. Okay, but like, we do this, and then we just quote this. That is the perfect journal entry. Beer's Things, nothing here appears to be relevant to your search. And then we also just quote the word be to really highlight, oh, nothing here appears to be perfect. Absolutely perfect. Good. So Beatrice in Boston. What else did he write? Rate. He rated the Million Year Picnic. The Million Year Picnic is a comic book store in Cambridge, Massachusetts, where MIT is. It's one of the oldest comic book stores in the United States, founded in 1974, and named after a short story by Ray Bradbury. Is it the Million Year Picnic? Is that actually what's called? Oh, this. Wait. Ray Bradbury. Which story am I thinking of from him? Oh, it's a Martian Chronicle. Sorry. I thought that was... Okay, sorry. Wrong one. She decided to visit the Million Year Pity for the first time after playing this game. Please tell the owner, Tony, that you heard about his story from the video game The Roottrees Are Dead by Jeremy Johnson. Fair warning, he has no idea that I did this, and will probably be somewhat confused if you're the first person to tell him. Okay, well, we'll have to write this down later. When I go to chat in like a year, when I get into IRL streaming, remind me to go to Boston. Okay, in a year, when the trade war in 4 years from now, if the trade war has not resulted in the destruction of both America and Canada, and the trade war is over and I can go back to visit Boston, remind me to tell the guy in Boston that I came to visit, alright? Otherwise, I'm dead. It's just sad. Sorry, it's just sad. Like, I don't get the... Oh, man. Maybe it's better if I don't go to Boston. Anyways. Friday, here we go. Chef's signature covered Friday less than a year ago, right around the time you were doing your initial investigation. Yep, okay. Chef's signature is a periodical about chefs. It's like, you know, the thing that talks about Gordon Ramsay. Here we go. Each article in Chef's Signature tends to focus on the restaurant, and like the magazine's name implies, each restaurant lists the one main dish that the head chef is known for. Friday's signature is the samosa cone. That sounds delicious. The cover and main article has been added to... What is a samosa cone? Wait, it's just a samosa, but like skinny. This feels like a scam. What? People in Boston like this? Like, what? Chat, if you search up samosa cone, it's just a skinny samosa. But the point of a samosa, it's meant to be like a nice little like fat ass triangle full of like delicious goodies. But the samosa cone is like a thin little shit with nothing in it. What? What do you mean? Why would you do this to the samosa? It's voiced now. What's wrong with you? There's the sons, James and Robert, sitting down with the Garlands, the new boys in Boston. November 1998. Chef's Signature is a nationally published magazine targeted towards fans of unusual restaurants, featured James and Robert Garland on the cover of their 1998 issue. So, 1998, they had sex in 1970. Yeah, they would be about around 20 years old, considering that the swinger party, and they were already having their kid before then. Wait, one of these kids? Oh shit! I think one of these kids. It depends on when the sex happened. Okay? She was already a secretary. Oh, fuck. She was already a secretary of Guy Hudson even before her first child was born. She was hesitant about swinging, but her husband was also there and so he knew. So it's not necessarily cheating. They're just polyamorous or like polysexual, right? They're in a it's not really a polycule. They just fuck. So they're going around fucking each other. They're going around. I need to think of a very family-friendly way of saying this. They're going around doing learning about the birds and bees with Guy Hudson. Why am I thinking of family-friendly words for sex? It's literally this whole stream is adult, but like the AI on YouTube's gonna be like, oh, you can't talk about sex. Like, fuck you. Like, fuck your mom. Your mother was a fleshlight, you stupid fucking AI. Your mother was a fucking fleshlight that I turn on and she'd vibrate the shit out of my cock. Fuck you, AI. Sorry. Sorry. James and Robert are becoming amazing men, so presumably that they swung. It could be that both of these children belong to Guy Hudson, and thus they probably have claimed the thing. But one of them could also just be a part of Steve. I'm not really sure. Okay, according to the article, the two brothers own a small walk-up window in Boston called Friday. And I do lament that there are not as many restaurants that handle this sort of small type of eating. Like, a lot of restaurants tend to be too large for their own good, and they have to have their own space and stuff. And I feel like a really interesting a really interesting store could be just as simple as like a window with a kitchen inside that you cook and serve out of, right? Which we saw some of during COVID, but I lament this because I'm in the restaurant business. It just kind of sucks that you don't really see too many experimental storefronts, and now it has to be like a sit-down thing. Like, I just want to open, again, my dream is to open a Glizzy Gladiator stand where I sell hot dogs at a TwitchCon. And I live stream it, and I'm on the stream, I'm on the like TV streaming it and communicating with people. Live on Twitch too. Called Tie-Dye. Applying the tie-dye shirts that the servers wear that exclusively serves vegetarian dishes. Most of the offerings are heavily inspired by the powerful spices found in Thai and Indian food. This dish is a samosa cone, which from a somewhat distance somewhat resembles a traditional ice cream, complete with a waffle pattern. What? Instead, it contains fried potatoes, pureed peas, carrots, and a special ginger-based sauce. So a samosa that's really thin. That sucks. Thanks. Robert, who is 3 years younger than James. Very important to know. And okay, there's one thing about the writing that's a little interesting. The only reason that the game writes this, and most magazines wouldn't really care to write this, or maybe they do, and I'm just not aware of what magazines are because I stopped reading a long time ago, which is sort of impressive how far I've gotten in spite of that. They would write this because the game itself needs this, so you order them correctly, right? Jokes that although the age difference has left him delicate to wear the sous chef jacket his whole life, he doesn't mind. As a result, James answers most of the interviewer's questions. James credits his love for food and his culinary skills to their upbringing. Okay, so this is very important. Robert is the sous chef, and thus the person in the red jacket in the above linked highlight. Okay, I don't know why I put this in parentheses. James is the blue and the talker of the two, and also the older of the two. So, yeah, here we go. So this is... Here we go. Let me do this. Really? I might as well just do this. Just have them be their own page. Like this. We do this. James and Robert. James and Robert. James and Robert. James and Robert. There we go. Children of the Garlands. Unclear if formed from nut of guy. Hudson. That's a good joke. It's a very solid joke. Children of the Garlands. Unclear if formed from nut of guy. Okay, so James puts his love to the upbringing. Yeah. Most kids hate vegetables growing up, but they didn't have parents like we did. My father used to make stories about peas, and I thought he was crazy. My father was a chef, and my mother grew up on a farm that supplied his restaurants. That's how they met. I don't have any memories of the farm or anything like that since we moved here before I could even talk. But they told me stories. My dad's a great storyteller. He even wrote a book that partially helped fund Friday. Oh! Nepotism! When we moved, they were looking... I'm kidding. But if I had a small loan of $1 million, I would not open a restaurant, which is like a 30 to 40% success rate. When we moved, they were looking to open their own restaurant together. Unfortunately, they never got it off the ground. His line cook gig ended up being less temporary than he hoped, and she had to go back to work as a secretary even after Robert was born. Before we were old enough to go to school, we spent our days with my aunt. Wait, so he was already old enough after Robert was born, so they were already born by this point. So, okay. Mother went back as secretary. Both were kids after by, I don't know, the 1978 or something. I don't know. I think that was the timeline. In the diner where he worked, my dad had no room for experimenting, so he'd exercise his skills at home on his days off. We'd always go shopping and cook as a family on those days. And even though we were hyper kids running around and causing a ruckus, those were some of our family's favorite memories since we were all together. Mom always had the eye for the best vegetables for him to work with, and she did her best to pass that on to us. According to the article, their parents, who are now retired, visit Friday often. They even have a signature dessert, the Sistine Apple. That is an amazing name. The Sistine Chapel, the Sistine Apple. That is... chef's kiss, honestly. Literal chef's kiss. Apple pie has always been my mom's favorite, and my dad always had the stupid line he used to make her laugh involving apple pie. Most people realize it's a Sistine Chapel pun and assume that's all there is to it, but it's actually secretly named after them, sort of. Very nice. Very nice. Okay, this place is done pretty well. We know who's who. So if we assume this and this, presumably they're still together. So this is the weird part, is that presumably it's the only ones that got married. So if I go back to this unknown up here, because that's probably why they eloped, because she got pregnant, which means that they are a part of it. So because they're the only ones who would have been married by this point. So yeah, this is actually pretty intense. He also did not sleep with Elias. So okay, so they eloped. Remember, parents eloped because she got pregnant with James, which is weird timing given the swinger parties, right? So I'm pretty sure the infidelity was with Christine Garland, and then Steve. I wonder, and Steve knew because he was in those parties, like it was a consensual thing. Again, it's not infidelity. Like it's not infidelity. Like it's infidelity again would be like, isn't it specifically because it's without the consent? But like they were there and everyone was a part of it. She just didn't want to be there. And then it's specifically Robert is a sous chef. So Robert is the younger. Is it young, old? Old earliest, so Robert is here actually. So Robert Garland. James Garland is on the left side. So James Garland. He's a chef. He's a sous chef. Chef. And then he's in the jacket, he's in the blue. Then the parents probably come from this photo. The plated loaf. That's a nice piece of bread. For 2 years, bakers Floor and Yates. I can't read this anymore. My head's done. Sorry, chat. My head's done. I've now hit the inflection point where the energy in my brain has now basically melted away. I was once again psyop'd by chat. I was psyop'd by chat into talking for 2 hours about Rust and programming languages and WGPU and WebGPU and the sad state that like web graphics is in, and the way that corporate interests will like splinter and fracture, you know, the desires of a technological realm. And sex. It's literally been 3 hours of technology and sex, which in many ways is sort of like the tech bro cocktail, if that makes sense. Thanks for watching. The Roottrees are dead. We'll figure out more of the Roottreemania. We're getting closer and closer to the 5 sexes. Okay, I'm pretty sure now I am reinvigorated in knowing that this is Guy Hudson. Okay, so I'm for sure this is Guy Hudson. He was El Presidente at the time. I forget what his title was. The 3rd president. Okay, we know for sure this is Guy Hudson because of all of this stuff. Okay, that was going on. And we know for sure that he had sex with all these people, all of his business partners, and even just his secretary at the time. He was a very promiscuous person, which is fine. But it's not infidelity necessarily. For the most part, it was actually fine. It was a thing that they all sort of consented to in their own way. So maybe, but there is this sort of like idea of maybe he's exerting power over them. So there is this sort of like bad part. I would argue if it's not infidelity, it's either A, consensual, because all parties agreed to it, or B, sexual assault, right? In the sense of like, because again, Christine Garland wasn't actually happy about doing it. It was just specifically that she wasn't happy about having sex. Like she wasn't actually thrilled about the idea of swinging. So, but it's like you feel pressure because think about it. Their business is failing, their restaurant fails. She has to go back to being a secretary, right? And presumably they needed the money because her mother worked as a supervisor on the Aniston farm, which is owned by the family. And so she feels the pressure to have sex with a guy that her husband brought her to in order to actually make the money. And that's how they're able to afford all of this. I don't like Guy Hudson. The guy, it's probably abusive, given that Christine had some power imbalance imposed upon her for the supposed assault. right? Like that's what that's what this kind of feels like. So it is a little iffy here, but we at least know more about the 5 sexes. And if we consider that the name is based off the act, I may need to change it at some point to be the 5 like offenses, if that makes sense. Like I don't think Guy Hudson, because we see that he's asking these women for affairs, and it's like, how much power does he really have over these people, right? Because think about the Brazil deal and why that was going on, and like what happened with the Brazil deal and why they would agree, right? The husband is taking bribes. Does the wife even want to sleep with him? Like a lot of these characters, it may be that none of them wanted to sleep with him, but because he's the president, and if they want the money to make their life better, then they have to. Like, he gives them an opportunity, but he dangles the carrot and says, if you want the carrot, you have to suck my dick. And that's a little fucked up, you know what I mean? I'm assuming that's how this is going, but we'll see how it goes. Great game. I never want to talk about Rust ever again. And boy oh boy, I'm glad that they're adding newer and newer features and fixes. Now, I'm going to psyop them. I'm going to psyop the developers. It sure would be nice to have a search bar. It sure would be nice to have a search bar. Why is the green screen, why does it work here? It sure would be nice to have a search bar. That way, I can see everything and find notes in my many 20 pages, because the more pages you give me, the more I'm going to write, and the more I'm going to need to search. Thank you.